Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Good morning, good morning, good morning. We in here, we in here. What we're gonna do this morning, we're gonna play a few of Charlie Kirk's debates, pay him a little tribute. And we also gonna watch Trump and UK. They talking investments, back to making deals. So we back at it. I'm trying to get this set up over here. So hope everybody having a great morning. Everything going good for me so far. So that's what we're gonna do this morning, because we're gonna watch a little bit of these Kirk debates to see and educate the people that never really watched him. Pay a little tribute to him as well, because he was putting the work in. Okay, here we go. The best of Charlie Kirk.
I'm a really big fan, and I'm really excited to see both of you. I'm a little stressed because I feel like I could ask about, gun violence. I could ask about anti-Semitism on campus. But I feel like with an opportunity like this, I would really appreciate some personal advice. I'm here at the University of Pittsburgh as a social work major, and I'm really passionate about it. However, I have found that I'm leaning a little bit more Republican, and I feel like I come at a standstill with that. And I really just want to get your advice moving forward for myself. There's some obvious things I think you can think that would conflict, obviously. I guess that's kind of my question. What advice do you have for me as a Republican aspiring social worker?
What would conflict?
I don't know, how to say it properly.
I think I can help. The social work industry is very much about a perspective generally of that people in poverty are there permanently and not trying to break people out of poverty into the middle class or higher levels.
Right.
And that's why the Democrat Party and social work are very intertwined.
Right, exactly.
They view poverty not as a series of choices, but as a station in life that is immovable largely.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. That's why my personal focus is on the children in underprivileged communities, because I personally feel like they don't choose to be put in that position. But I'm having a little bit of a difficult time empathizing with the older generation of underprivileged, and not in every community, but I don't know how to not sound bad. I know you are great at not sounding bad when you say stuff, but I don't want to say something that'll get me in trouble.
Well, here's one way to look at it. And Charlie, that was helpful, actually. The Great Society from Lyndon Johnson. It was a series of policies that were designed to help underprivileged communities.
Right.
They hurt the very people they were supposed to help.
How?
Well, the reality is it created dependence on government. So you have a lot of single mothers, for example, that are paid more money not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house because of the way the math of these aid programs work.
What do you mean?
Well, often the way the math of the aid is calculated is if you have an earning husband in the household, that actually causes you to disqualify for forms of federal aid that were designed to help you.
Right.
But actually, the best way to get kids in your own household ahead is in a two-parent household, because if you're raised in a two-parent household, you're less likely to end up in jail, less likely to end up in poverty, more likely to graduate from high school. So one of the ways that, if you're asking for advice, I would say for the people around you, even who might lean left, you can recognize their intentions come from a good place.
Absolutely.
But the policies of their leaders have actually betrayed the very people they were supposed to help. And you can let them know, because I believe this is genuinely true. Not just the Republican Party, but our conservative.
And see, what's the main problem about the people in these communities? Thank y'all for joining me. I'm your host, the one on the Stock Sniper. The main problem, in my opinion, is that these people are brainwashed to not believe what he's talking about. The things that they're saying right now, what is hurting this community, that community so bad, is that the people are brainwashed against what he's talking about. That's the main problem, is that these people are brainwashed. For instance, they think that there's nothing wrong with a single mom or a single dad. They think there's nothing wrong with a dad taking care of his kid from the sideline. They think there's nothing wrong with that. They have been brainwashed to think this certain type of way. Let's keep going.
Movement. We care about lifting people up from poverty. We just care about actually doing it rather than talking about it. That's what I would say.
The other thing I'll say is that we as conservatives believe that if you're in poverty, it's largely because of values, not because of lack of stuff.
Like what values?
Not saving money. Spending all of your money in your paycheck as you get it, for example. Abandoning your spouse after impregnating them. Not spending all of your money on alcohol and drugs and instead opening a 401k. So values are the number one predictor of entering the middle class. And there's a great book called Life at the Bottom. You should read it, by Theodore Dalrymple, who is a social worker in the United Kingdom. It's called Life at the Bottom, where he got into social work because he wanted to help people, and he realized it was not a lack of stuff. It wasn't lack of housing, lack of food stamps. It was that their value system was one that kept them poor. So yeah, really quick, then I want to get to the next question.
I'm just struggling because in all of my social work classes right now, they're talking about all of those things. And
they're wrong.
So what do I do? I'm trying to learn about what I want to do.
I think you need to stay in social work because you're called to do it, but there's an amazing amount of literature from Thomas Sowell to Shelby Steele to Theodore Dalrymple that get down to actual root causes of poverty, which is not lack of stuff, but is worldview. And I think that'd be super helpful.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Trump 2024.
Yes, you want a hat?
Thank you.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Those
According to the
asylum
way that the asylum laws are written, the entire nation of Mexico applies under asylum. Do you think that you have a right to immigrate to America? Is diversity and inclusion really an American ideal?
I knew you
Are
were-
you okay with deporting every illegal person that's here? Do you think that the American government should first have an obligation to citizens before foreigners? Nobody is asking these questions. We're just saying, if you want to come in, you can come in. Do you see anything wrong with, I don't know, taking in 5% of the population of Haiti? If someone comes into your dorm room uninvited and they do the dishes and laundry, they can stay?
If I'm not gonna do my own dishes, heck yeah. Hi. All right.
Hello.
Oh, hi. I'm gonna start off by saying I'm a political science student. I'm a second year here at K-State, and I'm a first generation student.
Try to turn it up a little bit.
Turn it up a little bit?
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thank you. And what's your name again?
Alondra.
Nice to meet
Alvarez. Yeah. So I just had a question because you talk a lot about like protecting and securing our southern borders. But as the granddaughter of immigrants, I think that we get into a lot of complicated disputes with the idea that immigrants are criminals or drug dealers and things like that. So I just want to hear what your opinion is on those expectations or those what do you call it? Those stereotypes that are put on Hispanic communities, Latino communities, and how they change the way people perceive immigration.
Sure. So, thank you for the question. So you said you're the first generation
Yes, I
student
am.
or first generation American?
I'm a first generation student.
Cool, great. Second generation American? Did I hear that right? Or-
Third generation
Cool.
American on my mom's side.
Great.
Second on my dad's.
When your grandparents then, is that right, came
Yes.
to this country, did they do so through the legal process that was in front of them?
So my father got married to my mother, so he's a legal resident of the United States. She's been here her entire life.
But did she enter legally?
She did.
Okay.
She's born here. Yeah.
Got it.
My grandpa on my dad's side entered in illegally.
Okay. So I'm not here to like insult your grandpa, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, but we must be very clear that the type of immigration that we support is when you follow our rules and you come on our terms, and that you do not break into a country uninvited and you try to cut.
Can I add something to that? The reason why he left, and a lot of people in Mexico do, is because of the political state, especially in the 70s and 80s, when they decided to move. They have a government that isn't supportive of their constituents, and because of drug problems, their only choice was to move.
Yeah, I totally sympathize. That's not true. It's never the only choice to commit a crime, and we should not put up with it. And so it is an insult to other immigrants from Vietnam and Laos and Pakistan that have to wait decades in line to morally equivalate people that come in and just break in. Oh, I have an unstable country. Like half of the world's countries are unstable.
Yeah, but that's why we have the asylum seekers program.
Which is heavily abused, and we're talking two different things. Asylum seekers and walking into the country illegally are similar but different things. right? And so we have millions of gotaways of people that we have no idea who they are. They're not declaring asylum. They just run across the border.
Well, because they can't. The system doesn't allow other people from Mexico specifically to assign themselves
who they are the last couple of years. So look, we just have to be very clear with this, is that if you come into the country uninvited, you have committed a crime and you are a criminal. And we could decide that we're not going to enforce our laws, or we can say that when you are a criminal, you should then be punished for that crime, aka sent back to your country of origin, because you were not invited. And it is an insult, again, to the Poles and to the Czechoslovakians and from the Senegalese and people all across the world that don't have the proximity or the luxury just to waltz into America.
You call it a luxury to leave a country that has political tyranny and come into a country with opportunity?
Yes, to live in Mexico, to be able to go 100 miles north and break into America. Do you know how many people in Pakistan would kill to be on that border?
That's why we bring them in.
Well, we shouldn't, right? That's the point. And secondly, do you think that you have a right to immigrate to America?
I think that I didn't have a choice. My grandparents made that decision for me.
And I'm not trying to attack your grandparents, but no one has a right to go to anybody else's country. You are invited. It is a privilege, not a right, to come into America.
So it's a privilege to live a life that requires you to have clean water, clean food, clean air.
Yes, of course it is.
And you have to fight for that?
Yes, it is not.
But we didn't?
Hold on a sec. Well,
born here, we didn't fight for that?
Well, my ancestors did fight for that, actually, and I'm a very thankful recipient of many generations of Americans that fought for the greatest nation ever to exist.
By doing what? Coming here?
Well,
illegally?
Wait, what did my ancestors do?
They came here illegally.
They came over here in 1620, fought in the Revolutionary War, fought in the Civil War, fought in World War I.
So because my grandpa didn't come
II.
here in 1620, it gives him no right to have a good life?
No, he can fill out paperwork and wait in line, like the rest of the world. And then we can see whether or not it's in our best interest to allow him to come in. And so we have to weigh costs and benefits. I'm not saying we should have no immigrants, but immigration must be a net benefit for the American homeland and for the American citizen. We have brought in 10 million people in these last couple of years. We have now brought in 5% of the population of Haiti. Nobody is asking these questions. We're just saying, if you want to come in, you can come in. Do you see anything wrong with, I don't know, taking in 5% of the population of Haiti?
Not necessarily, no. If we have the land and the resources to house them, it shouldn't be that big deal to bring in immigrants.
Really? Do you think that the American government should first have an obligation to citizens before foreigners?
Okay, I think we have an
answer
obligation.
The question. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Yeah, we're obligated because we're citizens to have the rights that we have, but that doesn't mean we can't open up our borders when we have the process to do so.
You, being a younger American, and everyone in the audience, is the first generation in American history to have it be worse off than your parents. So and you agree with that, social contract, poorer, more expensive. Yeah. So wouldn't it be rational for the American government to say, we're going to prioritize younger generation Americans that are American passport holders and citizens before those in another nation?
I don't want to say anything that offends people, but
go ahead.
I've already said it, right? I've already said it. Whatever. I think that the way we're going about it is wrong. And that if we don't have a clear path to citizenship, we won't open up those opportunities for people to come and seek a good life. But I also think we are required to have those rights ourselves.
Seeking a
good
life
citizens.
is fine. It's a nice added benefit. Our government does not exist to improve the life of foreign citizens.
But we should be open to the idea of accepting that.
Of course we are, if we have our own house in order. We are in chaos right now. We have the most depressed, suicidal, anxious generation in history. Our birth rate is collapsing. Kids can't afford homes. Yeah. You guys are drowning in debt. You have to compete for jobs against foreigners. Our country is a mess right now. And so when your country's a mess and your home is in disarray and bedlam, your own government should say, time out. I have a heart for the people of Haiti. I have a heart for the people of every country. But you're not coming here until this generation at least has it as good as their parents.
But it's the stereotype that I'm given as a Mexican American to fulfill those standards that people have on immigration as well.
I don't share that. I haven't said that here today. There's people from all over the world that enter the southern border now. There's 118 countries that come across the southern border. But I don't care if you enter illegally from Bulgaria or from Laos or from Mexico or from Nicaragua. Someone who does not have their paperwork when they come in is by definition breaking federal law.
Yeah,
and so then what should we do with someone who breaks with federal law?
But does that mean that people, including their children, their grandchildren, including myself,
not
have
you.
to live with the stereotype or the standard set upon me that I am a criminal, I
I'm
am
not
a drug dealer, I am a XYZ?
Okay, so I played into that stereotype.
I've heard it many, many times, not from you specifically today.
Okay, but then it's a little bit of a red herring, right? Because we're not even talking about it. I'm not.
Well, my original question was, what do you think about it?
What do I think about stereotypes?
About the stereotype given to immigrants right now and children of immigrants and people of color here.
Well, I can't talk about something I don't believe in. So, I mean, I don't want people to be stereotyped. No different than when you look at a young white man on campus, you think he's a rapist, right? Which is...
Nah, I don't.
Well, that's good. No, but that is a stereotype that is pushed sometimes. Like, oh, if you see a young man on campus, it's campus rape culture. Stereotyping is wrong. It should not occur. But we also must understand that the way that we constitute our immigration policy right now in this country is not in the benefit of the American citizen, and we're acting much more like a colony than a country. And where a country is where you have ties that bind you together, you have a shared history, hopefully a shared language, you have a shared culture, where a colony is you come from anywhere across the world, and so be it.
Yeah, but isn't that like the point of America? Diversity and inclusion and belonging.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Where is that in the Constitution or the Declaration that diversity and inclusion, these are false ideals that are taught in school? They're, I guess, nice, but is diversity and inclusion really an American ideal?
I think so.
Where does it say that?
I think that everyone has the right to live out their own individuality, their own lives in their own way.
I know, but you say the American ideal. Where do you get that from? Yeah, pursuit of happiness for Americans. You're right, because that's what the Declaration
I'm an
was
American.
written for. No, if that's fine.
Does that mean I'm not valid here for having a diverse background?
No, of course you are, but I'm saying that what?
So can I not express that?
Don't change the topic. You said we should be able to open up the country for people from all across the world.
Yeah.
Why do we believe that is a core belief?
Because we want to help people. That's the point. We came here a
Got it.
long time ago. We established a country a long time ago, and we want to have other people come in, I think, to live in the luxury that we live in now.
Last question.
I knew you
Are you okay with deporting every illegal person that's here?
No.
Why?
Because there's some people here that are not represented well by the media. There's a lot of illegal immigrants here that are working their butts off for the life that they want.
I don't care if they're working hard. But the point is, what should the punishment be for breaking into a country?
Depends on the crime you commit after you break into it.
Okay, that's it. I'm talking about just the crime is breaking in. What should the punishment be? I break into somebody's home. What should their punishment be?
Can you repeat that?
Oh, so if you behave after you get here, that's fine. So to play that out, if someone comes into your dorm room uninvited and they do the dishes and laundry, they can stay?
If I'm not going to do my own dishes, heck yeah.
Oh, my God.
They're doing my dishes for me? Cool. If they don't kill me, I'm not dead. It is what it is, man.
Well, they are killing a lot of Americans, but...
You say they. Like they are?
Yes,
like
they.
All illegal immigrants kill people? That's crazy.
Many illegals do. Actually, the crime rate for illegals is far above that of native-born Americans. And even if it wasn't, it would not be there. No, but it's just interesting. The punishment for the crime of breaking into a nation should be what it is in Switzerland and Israel and Hungary. Every person who breaks into a nation uninvited goes back to their country of origin, period.
So why
End
is
of
there an
story.
emphasis on the southern border?
Because most people come illegally through the southern border. 10 million people have come across the southern border. And by the way, do you have any concern for the 320,000 missing kids that have also been sex trafficked across the southern border?
Of course I do.
But who's doing the sex trafficking?
A handful of people, not everybody else.
320,000, that's a lot.
The children.
Yeah, but each one of them has a handler.
I'm just...
So, and that means that 320,000 sex pimps are bringing in sex slaves to this country.
The point I'm trying to make is that we categorize all illegal immigrants under the same thing. Sex traffickers, drug dealers.
Am I doing that?
And by you saying all illegal immigrants have to be deported, you're implying that all of them are doing these terrible things. And not a small percentage of them.
Well, it's not small, actually. 320,000 out of 10 million is not small, actually. That's a serious number. That's 3.2% of all people that came into the country are connected to sex slavery in some way. That's insane, actually. 3.2%. are connected to sex slavery. That's like a lot. But anyway, so let's just kind of, I want to just make clear. If you come into a country uninvited, definitionally you are a criminal.
We're just not going to agree.
It's fine. Then
That's
final
okay.
question. What is a criminal?
What is a criminal?
No, what is it? Would you agree with the definition that a criminal is someone who breaks the law?
Here's where I'm thinking. Here's the thing. I know how he's going to turn it, and I don't fully agree.
It's not a matter of turning it. It's a very ABC sequence. If they're not criminals, then tell me what a criminal is. And a criminal is obviously someone who breaks the law. Someone who comes across the southern border broke federal law, therefore they are a criminal.
Okay, then we can just disagree.
But you have to tell me what a criminal is, though.
Trump!
Oh, Trump, yeah.
Yo!
You got to come up to the mic. Okay,
She's right behind me.
yeah.
Have fun.
Can't tell me what a criminal is, yeah. It's so sad. It's because if you want to really get down to it, at the core, and she's a very sweet person who was there, the left cannot define core terms. Criminal, woman, racist, democracy.
Go
Do you
Cats.
feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself? Hold on. You're 30 years old. We can agree you're 30 years old, right? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm
Oh,
a
so
registered
I
voter.
vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Then a professor talking to you? Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
Actually, when I first saw this ad, I thought it was like an improv comedy thing. It looked so ridiculous that I didn't even think it was real.
Well, no, you could see. Look how popular Trump is on your campus. How does that make you feel? That's not comedy. That is a 5-alarm fire for Kamala Harris because she's probably going to lose Pennsylvania.
Look,
But no, I just want to be clear. Is there something wrong with talking to voters?
no, there's nothing wrong with talking.
Well, that's
to
what we're doing
voters.
here today. It's an open
I
mic,
think that you push a dangerous agenda.
such as.
Your stance on abortion rights, for example.
Okay, so
Let me ask a question. What is your name?
Gene.
Gene. And what is your understanding of the current Republican?
What's up, guys? We got 1,300 people in the building. Appreciate y'all for joining me. What's up, ATM Tim? Appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm your host, the one and only Stock Sniper. Today, we are giving a good tribute to Charlie Kirk, and we're going to watch a few of these debates. Enjoy, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's go.
Party's stance on federal intervention in abortion.
Well, I know that they want to bring it back to the states, right?
So it sounds like you do know that the Republican Party's current stance on abortion is they're against a federal ban on abortion.
I do
And we're
understand
talking about
that,
a
yes.
presidential election as the
Yes.
important election that we're talking about here.
I understand that, yes.
Great. So, again, I think this open dialogue is great. I think it's great you're here challenging Charlie, and I think it's great that he's willing to travel campuses across this country to talk to the next generation. We need more conversation. Now, where's the disagreement, though, on content? Because you could criticize style or why you're talking to people
Listen,
or dunk on someone personally, but where do you actually disagree with
I
the
agree
substance?
with the way that you edit content and specifically frame it so that people look bad talking to you. The way that you edit your content.
We post unedited content.
Let me just ask you one thing though, because personal insults can fly in all directions. Where is an area where you have a disagreement with the conservative movement, with Donald Trump, with Charlie Kirk, perhaps with myself? I was a presidential candidate last year. I think we need to talk about that more in the open, and the more we do, the stronger our country is going to be. We got a long line of people, but I want to hear from you one substantive area where you have an authentic disagreement, and I'd be glad to address it. I'm sure Charlie would too.
Just in anything. Political.
Relating to any political topic where you have a disagreement. Let's air it.
Okay. I disagree with
some of the laws that are being pushed in Congress that are against the LGBTQ community and the trans community.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm going to give you my view, and then I want to hear yours.
Okay.
My view is that if you're a fully grown adult, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want, dress how you want, marry who you want if you want, if you're over the age of 18.
I agree.
But you are not free to indoctrinate children in schools who are not yet of the age of consent. You are not free, just as you're a 17-year-old or a 15-year-old can't get a tattoo on their own, I don't think that you should be able to go or until the age of 18. And so the lines that I draw here is that men are free to claim to be women and swim in swimming pools. You're not free to claim trophies in a women's sports competition. You're not free to enter a women's locker room. You're not free to change a language, and you're not free to actually indoctrinate our children who are under the age of 5 in schools. Do we agree on the fact that adults should be able to live freely while still treating children differently? If so, we're on the same side of this issue.
Listen, I agree with the majority of what you said. However, I don't think that you're understanding the implications of the laws that are trying to be passed.
Look, we got a head start in the conversation. We got a long line behind you. But my only ask is, forget the personal attacks or the stylistic attacks. Focus on substance. The more we debate that, the stronger we're going to be as a country. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I don't think you're focusing on substance, though. That's the issue.
Hold on. Look, he intentionally tried to provoke substance out of you, and you said, well, I'm worried about some laws Congress should pass. I have to ask, what laws are you talking about? Can you be specific?
I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You take people and you put them under the spotlight, and you.
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to come up here. You voluntarily came to the front of the line. You didn't have to do that.
You're purposely antagonizing people on campus, asking
How?
people to come up by spreading your weird agenda.
How? What agenda is that? I'm confused though.
So, Charlie, I'll say this. We'll end on this and we'll go to the next question. When I was 18, and I'm not going to blame you for this, I also took for granted a lot of the stuff that the media force-fed me, because that's what you know at the age of 18. You say there are some vague laws making their way through Congress that are hostile to trans community.
Know how?
I don't think those laws actually exist, but I don't blame you if that's what the cable media is feeding you. But let's get to the specifics, and then we're able to actually have an open dialogue. And that's one of the things I've learned over the last 20 years.
I think that the issue is we're getting our media from different sources. Both people are getting media from these skewed sources. The facts that you're presenting are not always correct.
And that's why we're here with no TV screens between us. So people who have policy-based substantive disagreements, we invite those. I think that's how we're going to get our country back. And as it relates to trans, which you brought up, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want. You're not free to force that onto somebody else, or especially kids. And if we agree on that, we make some progress. Thank you.
Disagreements, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I tend to lean liberal on a lot of issues, but specifically on immigration, when I hear about like the Haitians in Ohio, taking over cities, and the thing about eating people's pets, I don't know if that's true.
It is true.
But I was wondering if you could speak a little bit on that specifically, and I'm kind of torn on the election, so if you could also speak on...
Hey guys, look, that guy's on Kansas State University campus with a Texas Longhorn hat on. Hook 'em horns. Look, that guy has a Texas Longhorn hat on at a Kansas State University campus. Hook 'em horns.
If we have more instances like that in the future, if Kamala Harris gets voted.
Yeah, it's a great. First of all, thank you for coming up to the mic. And I want to try to win you over as a liberal for Donald Trump. So you're going to give me a chance, okay?
I will, sir.
All right, okay. That is a true open mind. So I appreciate that. Number one, we have accepted 5% of the Haitian population in this country in the last couple of years. I have nothing against Haitians. I know some Haitians. We can all agree when you accept 5% of any country's population, in addition to all the other mass migration we have, it's too much, it's unsustainable, and a government must start from this core premise. It must have an obligation to fulfill a better life for its own citizens, before it opens its border to non-citizens. It's a very, very basic, fundamental thing. And as I said earlier, everybody in this audience is seeing their future worse off than their parents for the first time since George Washington. That's a big deal. Usually, at least kids are as good, if not better, than their parents, and we have that broken. As far as Donald Trump goes, there are 3 things I want you to think about when voting for Trump. Number 1, home ownership. I imagine you want to own a home sometime in your life, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, in order to own a home, you would have to make $125,000 a year right now just to be able to get the mortgage. That doesn't count your medical expenses, your student debt expenses, your credit card expenses. When Trump was president, it was $75,000 a year. We were building millions of new homes, incomes were going up. Why is it that the housing prices have gone up so much? Because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have spent $6 to $7 trillion of unnecessary federal spending, flooded the zone with these trillions of dollars, which have inflated asset prices. Number 2, as a liberal, I imagine you don't like war, right? You don't like endless war. Under Donald Trump, it was the first president in 40 years where we had no new wars. No Iraq war, no Syrian war, no Russian-Ukraine war. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we have the Russian-Ukrainian war that we've spent $250 billion on. We have the terrible situation in Israel and Gaza. I'm very pro-Israel. We can all agree, though, not a good situation, right? Not favorable. It's just bad. A lot of human suffering, not good to witness. Under Donald Trump, none of that happened. In fact, he brought peace to the Middle East. We had the Abraham Accords, and we had a stable international circumstance. The final thing is the border. Under Donald Trump, the southern border was the most secure it was in American history, with border crossings at an all-time low. Under Kamala Harris, 10 million people have come across the southern border into this country. We have no idea who they are. They're coming into our communities. Crime is increasing. They're eating ducks and geese and cats in Springfield, Ohio. And that's just like a silly example. It's totally true, by the way.
Why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why? When I looked it up, because the reason I'm asking you is because there's a lot of misinformation. I feel like because when I first heard about your side of the story is what I heard, and then after that, I was hearing that there's no proof of that. So why is that?
Well, there is proof. I mean, we have tons of video I could show you of residents saying that my cat was taken by a Haitian yesterday morning and was grilled on an open fire. They won't accept it as a police report in Springfield. I know way too much about Springfield, Ohio police reports right now, but they won't accept it as a police report because it's an animal control problem. It's just, again, you have to just look at the residents. Either they're all lying and they're all in on it, or there's something to this. I'm not asking you to vote for Trump based on, cats being kidnapped and grilled and barbecued. I am saying, though, that it begs a question of, can we sustain 10 million people? I want you guys to understand how many 10 million people is. We have 10 million illegals that have come to the country, which is the population of New Jersey. Okay, that is an unsustainable amount. Under Donald Trump, we had the border secure and it will stay secure. So those 3 things. We had a great economy under Trump, and it was easier for you guys to own homes. We had no wars, and you guys are closer to World War III than ever before. You guys that are all, by the way, military age, I hope you don't get into World War III because you might be drafted under the current circumstance, and you guys might laugh. But think about who is endorsing Kamala Harris. Dick Cheney, Leon Panetta, Liz Cheney. These are the warmongers of 20 years ago that got us into these wars. So I am not fear-mongering here, guys. The people that got us into these failed wars, by the way, this is 9/11 today, and we remember what happened on 9/11, and then we remember our terrible reaction on 9/11 when we decided to invade Iraq and Afghanistan. Let us never do that again. Let us never invade sovereign countries.
Amen.
And I think you would sympathize with that.
I agree.
And this is why we're seeing Bobby Kennedy, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, people that are card-carrying Democrats, vote for Trump and voice support for Trump, because what's happening at the Democrat Party is this very sinister combination. It's a party of censorship, it's a party of war, a party of open borders that is against actual traditional liberal values.
I agree.
So which way are you leaning?
Can I get a hat?
That's a good answer. Thanks, man. God bless. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Charlie.
You are right. I will. 1 sec. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just have a question kind of based on affirmative action.
Yeah.
I'm a computer engineer here at UW-Madison. I'm about to graduate. And there's a lot that I've found through research and just general, my studies. Not only does affirmative action help, minorities, people of color, but also women in general. And there's a lot of facets of engineering, the medical system, and other factors that, because of affirmative action, have helped. I'll just go into something. For example, let's say in the medical field, endometriosis, something like that has not been studied in women due to so little women being in the medical field. Also, for example, like cars, the seatbelt is made specifically for the male body. They're only tested with male mannequins, so a lot of women are in risk of dying in car crashes at a higher rate. There's a lot of things that benefit from a diverse group of people, both in engineering and medical fields and education and other facets of the systems. And I was just wondering, without affirmative action, how do you think we can bring these people in to bring a variety of opinions?
Yeah, no, I mean,
views?
just have a meritocracy, right? So you have 3 white men around you. You can see 1, 2, 3. So if one supports affirmative, no, it's okay. If one supports affirmative action,
Right.
it would mean that you would be okay turning to those 3 men and saying, I deserve the position more than you based on something that doesn't matter more than something that does matter.
I feel like that's one facet of it that we're not also paying attention to, is that people that are graduating from the same schools. They're graduating with the same degrees.
With lower test scores, though. Much lower. Every study of affirmative action, for example, the Harvard case showed that it was nearly 40% lower test scores for people of color versus their white male counterparts and Asian counterparts.
And so how
at
can
some point,
is that like why would that happen? Do you think
why?
it's yeah?
Why
What causes that? Do you think it's just because people of color are more stupid?
No,
or,
of course not.
Right.
I mean, people of color come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds that don't prioritize education
So
as much.
how do we
but
fix
that's
those socioeconomic statuses?
Right, that's an interesting point. Not should we try to penalize white males that are competent to go run our systems and our institutions. So those are 2 different things.
Right.
So what we're doing is our institutions are now becoming less excellent. Our country is not working like it used to because we basically told people that are very qualified and very competent that, sorry, we're not going to put a position for you here. For example, the U.S. Secret Service. Let me just give you one example, okay? We can all agree that protecting a president, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, is super important, right? But now the Secret Service has said that we want to have 30% of all our agents be women, which, by the way, they have lower fitness criteria. So they have less pull-ups, less push-ups, slower mile time.
That's something that's due to your
hold on,
genetics.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but this is affirmative action, right? And so therefore, when
there's fields I don't think that's a good. One second. I just don't think that's a good example because women will never be as strong as men, at least genetically.
So that's an interesting question.
So I think it should be something that's more ideologically based.
Will women be as good at engineering as men, person for person?
Not necessarily, but...
Okay, well then, how is that different than the Secret Service example?
Well, the problem is that...
Because the male mind is wired different than the female mind. By the way, men will never be as good... Hold on, I'll prove it to you. Men will never be as good at counseling or psychology sessions as women. Men will never be good at nursing or elementary school education as women. We have certain giftings as our brain is wired a certain way. Women are far better gifted at micro topics, so individual connection, empathetic type conversations, healing people that past trauma and wound. Men are much better at macro topics, right? Trying to build a building, put a skyscraper up, trying to talk geopolitics. And I'll prove it to you. When you go and you see 5 women eating lunch, they're probably talking about micro topics, conversations they had, relationships, friendships. Men, they're talking about politics, sports, or the stock market.
That's not necessarily
true. Oh, yes. You guys all agree, right?
I mean, there's a reason.
These are bimodal general truths, right? Of course, there's exceptions, but
it's not a general truth, though. I feel like women have the capability of having political conversations.
Of course they do, but it's not the general wiring or nature of women.
It's not. There's no wiring for your brain to like Donald Trump. That's not a real thing. I feel like.
But wait a second. But do you think that men and women are made different in our brains and our
certain things, but not necessarily. It doesn't channel you to be a specific thing.
Like what things?
Well, there's specific wirings to produce certain types of hormones, and that's differences that are genetically.
So you don't think that men are more likely to like contact sports, more likely to enjoy football, UFC, hunting?
I think that's because of a societal norm in general. Over a lot of time.
No, come on, you're smarter than that. That's not true.
Well,
hold on. So why is it
there's women that play football? So you can't just say that.
And there are men that dress in drag, but those are not the general truth of it. So let me just be clear. You think that there's nothing within the female brain in its constitution that makes young ladies more likely...
I mean, being that I'm an engineer, I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I feel like there's...
So you think if you pick a random lady here, that they'd be just as comfortable sitting and watching a 4-hour football game than they were to go get their hair done with their best girlfriend?
Well, I feel like that's kind of diminishing to say, because you're a woman, you will not be able to sit through a 4-hour football field.
Is it diminishing to say a man wouldn't want to go get his hair done? No.
No, I'm sure you get your hair done, right?
Not really. It's like 10 minutes in and out, like barbershop.
Okay, but you still do it. It's
but the point, again, there are certain things that women will take more seriously. For example, women will take a lot longer getting ready for the day than men.
Yeah.
Right? Why?
Because we're held to higher standards to
No,
look pretty.
no.
For example, your hair. How short is your hair? It's super short. Mine, it's gonna take longer to dry.
Do you wear
right?
makeup?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you want to look pretty, and it takes.
Yeah, that's not important to me because I'm a man.
Well, right. But who made you
but
feel
there's
that
something
way?
in your
but you
wiring.
feel comfortable
No,
not wearing
it's not
makeup because of a certain reason.
Well, but you wouldn't feel comfortable wearing makeup?
I can not wear makeup.
But why do you do it?
I mean, like right now I'm not wearing like anything really.
No, I know, but that's the point is that at some point you wear makeup because there's something within your wiring that says, I want to be presentable to the world. And that wiring honestly is, I want to find a mate to have children.
This question was about affirmative action. I think we're getting
No,
kinda
it's
off
not.
the
It's actually
subject.
really important because I don't think there's any differences between races, but I think that when it comes to affirmative action, we're saying that there are differences.
Right.
That we're trying to say that things that don't matter should matter. So I don't think race matters. Affirmative
Right.
action says race
What
does
about
matter.
like women also in fields like that? Like what I
Well,
explained
I
earlier.
think that's even more dangerous, to be honest with you. If like we're going to say that women should be Secret Service agents protecting Trump.
Not Secret Service. I'm talking about medicine, engineering, that type of
Well,
thing.
hold on. Okay, so should we try to have the same amount of female to male OBGYNs?
I think it should
Hold
be
on.
similar to the amount of like
OBGYNs, though.
the general population.
So hold on. 85% of all OBGYNs are female.
Yeah.
So now should we have parity so that men
I have an OBGYN that's a man. That's not a problem.
That's not the point. The point is should we have parity?
I think it should be similar to like whatever the.
Got it. Okay. So you're consistent. So women studying in the OBGYN field will be actively discriminated against. So a man can, because we must have parity.
It's not about people in the OBGYN specifically. It's about people in general. Men were, like, for example, women were not able to vote until like less than 100 years ago, basically, right?
What does that have to do with
One
the
second.
field?
So because of that, a lot of the laws, a lot of everything that's set in place was made by men, was excluding women, was creating like reforms and like certain legislations that would specifically, support men rather than women because women don't have that ability.
Or support society. I don't think it was always about supporting
Well, for example, like what about it? Like what I brought up, endometriosis, or like the seatbelt accident, like all those stuff is due because we tend to favor men in specific.
Well, so I just don't believe that. First of all, because
mean,
research
I
will go
can
where the money
show
is.
you,
And
but-
so if there was money in endometriosis research?
Not much because
Well,
men
that's
don't
why.
care.
So maybe it wasn't sexism. Maybe it was a monetary explanation.
Well, who has the money in a society?
Well, actually, women
usually?
control more money than men in the country.
But women weren't able to have bank accounts until like less than 100 years ago, so they can't really build that generational wealth.
Do you think it's been a better thing with women's liberation in the last 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I would.
Do you think that's interesting? Do you think women are happier in America today than they were 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Then why are they the most depressed group in the history of the species? Women are the most miserable they've ever been. Like, why is that?
I don't think that's because we're allowed to have money.
No, I'm
now, or
asking.
because
I'm asking but it's like more liberation, more college degrees, more birth control, less marriage.
I would
less
argue
kids.
otherwise. I don't know where you got that data.
No,
like, we're
everybody
more
agrees that
depressed.
women are super miserable. As far as versus 30 years ago.
Well, it could be the fact that because women weren't able to go to a psychologist or like.
Or maybe it's because they're not doing the one thing that they want to do, which is to get married and have children.
Yeah, she's saying that no, it's actually opposite. It's saying that women actually says women around the world report higher levels of life satisfaction than men, but at the same time report more daily stress.
Yeah,
so we're just held to
type in women antidepressant use 2024. It is the highest it has ever been.
But there's like more layers to it than that. It can't just be that. You have to look at why are women more likely to go and talk to a psychologist. There's the differences in that.
So, but I'm just curious. So, do you think women are generally happier in 2024 than they were in 1964?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
But I just had the question of how would you want to fix that? Just
There's no problem to fix. Pure meritocracy.
No, I'm just saying like how do you bring people with diverse opinions?
Oh yeah, I mean I don't care that much about. I care about excellence.
So like women, like you used to be
I
studying
don't
into
care
stuff
about
like
putting women in
endometriosis
STEM.
and
I
stuff
care
like
about being
that.
a strong.
No, I'm talking
and-
about like being able to like look into those type of things, like endometriosis, like all this stuff. How do we make that safer for other people without bringing people that care about it?
Not that important to me. I want the country we once had, which was the greatest country ever, where we put excellence and we put superior intellect above like sensitive racial politics. Not interesting to me.
Okay.
Because it was a bunch of white men that were like running the country, and all of a sudden we decided.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just
no,
saying
good.
that.
Like that's fine. I mean, but when we used to have a country that was based on merit, we were more successful, and we were a better run country, and we're objectively not now.
Yeah.
We're a country
I'm just saying that in
we can't even
engineering, there's
protect
a
a
lot
president
of-
from getting shot.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts in engineering that because we don't have a diverse look of opinions, then we are we're putting certain people into more danger, like women in cars. That's like one example.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
All right. Thanks. You're voting for Trump?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I can't.
Yeah, well, you lied to get a hat, and that shows your
I
character.
didn't lie. I said I would wear it. You said if you wear it.
I said
can
only
have
if you
it.
vote, but that's fine. All right, next question. Hello.
Hi. About that. Well, first question, why can't marriage be allowed with 2 men or 2 women? That question got me.
Yeah, so I mean, allowed and what it is are two different things. So again, just strictly from what marriage has always been is the idea of 2 separate parts coming in a union to be able to have, hopefully, a lifelong partnership to raise kids, adopt kids, or have kids, and to become better versions of themselves. It is the attraction of opposites. And so if you want to redefine marriage, that's fine, that's your contention, but I take a classical view of marriage.
Based on, like, what is that based on what? The Bible?
The natural law.
Is that the Bible?
Well, natural law is separate than the Bible, but it's harmonic with the Bible. That's correct.
Okay.
Because what would you say? What is the purpose of marriage?
Marriage is like, I love you, you love me, let's
Got it. So
let's get together.
Can a 25-year-old marry an 8-year-old?
No,
Why?
because that 8-year-old is not ready. Like, they
Got it. So at
are
some
not
point,
adults.
so then let's build out your definition more then. Love each other, but also what? What is the purpose? What is the destination of marriage?
We are 2 adults. We love
Got
each
it.
other.
Fair enough. Okay, we love each other. End of story.
Well, let's give me another thing, and maybe I'll add to it.
Okay, but is that it? Just is it about union, partnership, friendship? What is
I think it's just like, let's get our taxes good. Like, let's just get married. Like, I don't think there needs to be some big crazy
No, that's
reason.
actually, no, I'm not attacking you. I think marriage is holy, and by holy, I don't just mean in a religious sense. Holy means separate, meaning it should be elevated, it should be celebrated. It's something that is so above the rest, and you just think it's like a tax advantage, and that's fine because actually most Americans agree with you.
Yeah.
I think marriage is something where we should drop everything. Like, wow, 2 separate parts have just made a lifelong covenant with one another to learn about the other and to grow with each other, and it's difficult, and I think that we've lost that.
I mean, I'm Jewish, and like in Judaism, there's the when you get married, the religious marriage, and then there's the government marriage. Like, you have to get married
For
twice,
sure.
basically. So I
That's
think
right.
what you're talking about is probably the religious marriage, like with a priest. I'm talking about governmental marriage.
I'm even talking about government. I'm just saying traditionally our governmental marriage, again, I'm in the vast minority of opinion in the country, this has been the classical view that it's a man and a woman coming together in something sacred and something holy or elevated. Again, that's not...
I would say that's just a Christian marriage.
It's not necessarily Christian. In Judaism, in traditional rabbinical Judaism, Orthodox, homosexual marriage is not recognized.
That is true.
So it's not Christian. In Islam, homosexual marriage is not recognized.
Okay.
So it's not just Christian.
Okay.
So it's Abrahamic.
Abrahamic.
All right, we agree.
Why do we care if there's no father? I grew up without a father. I feel like I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I'm in college. Like, why are we so towards the father? Why does he need to be there so much?
So just try to answer my question for me. Do you think is there any time, and you're being very vulnerable and I appreciate that, when you were growing up, and maybe not, where you said, I wish I had a dad around?
My mom says I did wish for that once, at a wishing well. But my mom was great. She supported
your mom's
me,
a hero,
provided
for sure.
me.
No, I'm not. This is not a knock on single moms.
Right.
But was there ever a time maybe where a more masculine figure would have been helpful?
I can't really, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Like, what? Can you give me an example of
Yes.
when a masculine figure would be helpful in my
When
life?
a boyfriend might have broke up with you, and you didn't want to talk to your mom because she just didn't get it, and you wanted a strong, stable man to say you're beautiful.
If my father was like, you're beautiful, that'd be cool. But like, if my mom was also like, you're beautiful, I don't really see a difference between like my mom saying it and my father saying it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't see the world that way, because there's being a father to a daughter, there's a very unique bond between a father and a daughter, where you kind of you fall in love again, but not romantic love. You fall in a different type of Greek love, which is called storge, which is a father-daughter love, where you have such affection for this incredible being, and your task is to shepherd that vulnerable, innocent girl through life all the way up until the marriage aisle, to kind of connect the two topics together, right?
Wow.
Where then you hand it off to another man because women are worthy of protection.
So you're saying like there has to be a man in the woman's life.
Not
the
has
woman
to.
can't be
Not-
like alone.
No, there are exceptions, but it is a beautiful ideal. And when that ideal falls apart, now let's talk about the technical side. In the black community, when fathers are no longer around, crime goes up, poverty goes up. Because you'll understand this less, and a man in the audience who grew up without a father will totally get this. If it's just a mom in the house, the dad should come in and discipline the 14-year-old for acting like a brat. The dad comes in and he says, stop doing this. You need to be able to outrank the 14-year-old brat with another masculine figure.
But don't you think that like there's a reason that a lot of the black community doesn't have a father, and it's because of systemic racism. It's because like black men are more likely to be in prison.
Oh yeah, so why do people go to prison?
For like a lot of the time it's because they're in poverty and they have no other way to get.
Okay, so they commit crimes.
Because
Yeah, but so wait, so wait.
Why do they
So wait, if you're
commit crimes?
So in poverty, we should give excuses for committing crime?
Yes, because if they have no
like murder?
I did not say murder. I'm saying like if someone is stealing something because they have no money and there's no jobs.
That's so interesting. So you think most crimes are crimes of necessity in the black community?
I'm not saying most.
So like gangbanging is like a crime of necessity?
That I literally never said that. I'm saying
But
like
you're making an argument of crimes of necessity. Like they're so hungry they can't handle it.
I'm talking about like crime that has to do with like getting food, getting stuff that you need to live.
Right, but we have food stamps for anyone that needs it. So that doesn't exist. We have subsidized housing for anyone that needs it. So that doesn't exist. We have free health care for any poor person that wants it, called Medicaid. That doesn't exist. We also have welfare, cash, for anyone that wants it. So that doesn't exist. So what is it they're missing that they need to go, sorry about that.
Well, the food, like a lot of food stamps might not cover all of what they need. And also housing is like, there's not unlimited housing. A lot of people who are unhoused have to like go to shelters, and then they get kicked out of shelters because there's a mandatory stay limit. So it's not like you just get a house.
It's not a stuff thing, though, right? It's like if you need stuff, there's also tons of charities out there that can provide assistance. Churches, you will not go hungry in this country. You will not starve in this country.
Yes, you will. There's
no, we have an obesity problem.
Street?
We have an obesity problem, not a starvation problem in this country.
What are you talking about?
In State Street, if any one of those people went to the local Episcopalian church or Methodist church, they will get fed. I guarantee it. If they go to a local food shelter, they will get fed.
Okay, but I'm talking, housing.
For housing. If we have Section 8 subsidized housing in this country, right? If you want to have a roof over your head, you can have a roof over your head.
With like thousands of rules, and you can't do
anything. Yes, of course, yes. I mean, it's not ideal, but the point is this. So let's just go back to the crime and necessity, right? Mm-hmm. So why do people commit crimes?
I'm not saying why all people commit crimes. I'm saying there are people who commit crimes because they have no other choice.
Got it. So why is it that other people that are as poor as they are in separate racial groups don't commit crimes at the same rates? For example, blacks are 13% of the population and they commit over 50% of the crimes. Why is that?
Black people, I would say, not blacks.
Okay, it's not. I can say whites, and you wouldn't care. So
anyway,
hold on. Right? I can say Hispanics, you wouldn't care. So don't police my language.
But whatever. I'm not policing your language. I'm just saying I would say black people.
Fair enough. But the insinuation is that I'm being racist. But that's fine.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Yeah, but black Americans are 13% of the population and commit anywhere between 50 to 56% of murders, crimes, carjackings. Why is that?
Well, what percentage of the white population is living in the same level of poverty?
Got it. So there's twice as many white Americans in poverty as black Americans. Not the same percentage, but still, if you look at white Americans in poverty, they commit far less crimes than black Americans in poverty. Why is that?
Maybe it's because when you're in a store, like they follow black people and they don't follow white people.
What about murder?
Rural?
No, but why is it that, like, just saying murder, why is it that black people commit so many more murders? Like, that's not, you're being followed in a store and you commit more murders?
Yeah.
Which is like proximity.
You're making the rule, or I'll get to you in a sec, but
Okay,
it's not,
anyway.
it's not a good argument. But let me just go back to one thing you said. Systemic
Whatever, you're
racism,
good.
right? So the idea of systemic is that it's
Yeah.
within our laws.
Mhm.
There are some black Americans here listening. What can you as a white American do that the black American cannot do?
Let's see. I could go into a store and not get followed. The police could not track me down on when I'm driving. I'm less likely to get shot and killed while I'm driving. There's a lot of things that I can do.
Okay, so just be clear. So if you walk into a local CVS here, how would you guys be treated differently?
Well, they would probably say hello, and they would probably just walk, let me in and not follow me, and then.
So these are a lot of probablys. I don't believe you, but I'm talking about laws, right? So what in the legal code of America can you as a white individual do that the black individual can't? Because systemic means it's in our code, right? It's for example, like Jim Crow, totally get it. That's systemic racism. What is systemically your advantage?
Maybe housing codes, because I know redlining isn't a thing anymore, but there is isn't there people who are white are more likely to be given loans because of they have less I don't know, that's just it's back from redlining, it's a lot of the same stuff.
So I don't buy into any of that. So I just kind of go.
You don't buy into redlining, or you don't buy
into redlining. I don't buy any of that stuff that happens today. In fact, it's the opposite. Loans are now given favorably to black Americans in certain cities over white Americans.
Okay, but you think redlining?
I believe in. I know redlining existed. I don't debate that. Of course it has. But because of DEI and because of affirmative action, there's actually a preference given. But so let's go back to fathers, right?
Okay, let's go back to fathers.
So something happened to black America since 1965. So in 1965,
you mean the war on drugs?
Right. Well, so if that's your contention, that's fine. So in order to go to jail for the war on drugs, you have to be dealing drugs, right? Or you have to be caught with drugs. So if you don't
which is one of the main jobs that you can have in a poverty-stricken. If there's no jobs, you're going to do drugs. I mean, you're going to trade drugs because that's the only option you have.
It's such a difference in worldview. You're making excuses for criminals.
Yeah.
And what an insult to poor immigrants that came to this country that didn't commit crimes and worked 2 or 3 jobs and worked themselves out of poverty and didn't decide to go deal coke.
Well, my father is a white immigrant from Poland, and he committed crimes, and he's fine now. So.
Did he go to jail?
Yeah, he did.
I thought there was systemic racism. I thought that doesn't happen very much.
I never said white people don't go to jail. I said they go more, and you're saying that white immigrants are fine and they don't.
No, that's far less actually. I'm glad he went to jail if he committed a crime. I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
So, but at the core of it, we have a difference in worldview, right? My worldview is I'm not sympathetic to people that steal, that loot, and murder, because that's a values problem. And I don't like making excuses for people that do things that are obviously destructive. Secondly, we have a problem in black America. The biggest problem is not racism, it's the lack of dads. If dads are around, kids flourish. And you know who agreed with me? Barack Obama. Barack Obama used to make this a central piece of his campaign. He came to this campus back in 2012, drew 100,000 person crowd, and talked about how we need to rebuild the black family and put dads back. Why doesn't the Democrat Party talk about that anymore?
I'm fine with having fathers. I'm not against having black dads.
For sure. I'm saying, but don't we agree? Has anyone heard that mentioned on the national scale in the last 10 years? Yeah, I mean, we've heard about
probably not.
Yeah, and
because there's bigger issues.
No, there isn't. See, that's the issue, is that this is what makes us different. As a conservative, I focus on if you have family breakdown, don't worry about climate change, don't worry about systemic racism. All that stuff is these crazy abstractions.
What do you think create family problems? Systemic racism creates family problems. If you take away black people from their families, then they're going to have broken families.
Okay, but that's interesting. How are you taking them away? Aren't they leaving? They're not staying with the women they're impregnating. So, for example, there 13% of the population is black. Not every single person ends up in jail, obviously. And yet there's huge child abandonment because there's a cultural expectation that is different in black America than in white America, which is it's okay to impregnate a woman and abandon her in black America. It's not
based on what? What is that based on?
That's a good question. Where does it come from? It's just based on...
No, I'm saying what is that, your view of black America?
Well, it's not a view. It's true. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at Thomas Sowell and Shelby Steele that have done amazing analysis on this. It's that in black culture, that is not considered to be a stigma. In white upper middle class culture, for those of you that grew up in Waukesha or Libertyville or grew up in Hinsdale or grew up in Naperville, you guys all know those neighborhoods. If you impregnate a girl, a woman, and you just like abandon her, that's frowned upon. That is a social stigma in upper middle class white culture.
And it's not in black culture?
No. In fact, it's glorified by the rap culture. It is.
I think
Yes.
rap.
He's absolutely right, guys. There it is. He's absolutely right. I'm going to rewind it and play it again. He's absolutely right. And guess what? People are so brainwashed that they don't even get this. But he's absolutely correct.
Abandon her in black America. It's not
Based on what? What is that?
Racism. All that stuff is like these crazy abstractions.
What do you think create family problems? Systemic racism creates family problems. If you take away black people from their families, then they're going to have broken families.
Okay, so, but that's interesting. How are you taking them away? Aren't they leaving? They're not staying with the women they're impregnating. So, for example, there 13% of the population is black. Not every single person ends up in jail, obviously, and yet there's huge child abandonment because there's a cultural expectation that is different in black America than in white America, which is it's okay to impregnate a woman and abandon her in black America. It's not
based on what? What is that based on?
That's a good question. Where does it come from? It's just based on.
No, I'm saying what is that like your view of black America?
Well, it's not a view. It's true. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at Thomas Sowell and Shelby Steele that have done amazing analysis on this. It's that in black culture, that is not considered to be a stigma. In white upper middle class culture, for those of you that grew up in Waukesha or Libertyville or grew up in Hinsdale or grew up in Naperville, you guys all know those neighborhoods. If you impregnate a girl, a woman, and you just like abandon her, that's frowned upon. That is a social.
I didn't rewind it far enough.
I know redlining existed.
Okay,
I don't debate that. Of course it has. But because of DEI and because of affirmative action, there's actually a preference given. But so let's go back to fathers, right?
Okay, let's go back to fathers.
So something happened to black America since 1965. So in 1965, so.
You mean the war on drugs?
Right. Well, so if that's your contention, that's fine. So in order to go to jail for the war on drugs, you have to be dealing drugs, right? Or you have to be caught with drugs. So if you don't
which is one of like the main jobs that you can have in a like poverty-stricken. Like if there's no jobs, like you're going to do drugs. I mean, you're going to trade drugs because that's the only option
It's such a difference in worldview. You're making excuses for criminals.
Yeah.
And what an insult to poor immigrants that came to this country that didn't commit crimes and worked 2 or 3 jobs and worked themselves out of poverty and didn't decide to go deal coke.
Well, my father is a white immigrant from Poland, and he committed crimes, and he's fine now. So
did he go to jail?
Yeah, he did.
I thought there was systemic racism. I thought that doesn't happen very much.
I never said white people don't go to jail. I said they go more, and you're saying that white immigrants are fine and they don't.
No,
I'm
that's
saying
far
that
less
do.
actually. I'm glad he went to jail if he committed a crime. I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but at the core of it, we have a difference in worldview, right? My worldview is I'm not sympathetic to people that steal, that loot, and murder, because that's a values problem. And I don't like making excuses for people that do things that are obviously destructive. Secondly, we have a problem in black America. The biggest problem is not racism, it's the lack of dads. If dads are around, kids flourish. And you know who agreed with me? Barack Obama. Barack Obama used to make this a central piece of his campaign. He came to this campus back in 2012, drew like a 100,000 person crowd, and talked about how we need to rebuild the black family and put dads back. Why doesn't the Democrat Party talk about that anymore?
I'm fine with having fathers. I'm not against having black dads.
For sure. I'm saying, but don't we agree? Has anyone heard that mentioned on the national scale in the last 10 years? Yeah, I mean, we've heard about
Probably
like.
Not.
Yeah, and
because there's bigger issues.
No, there isn't. See, that's the issue, is that this is what makes us different. As a conservative, I focus on if you have family breakdown, don't worry about climate change, don't worry about systemic racism. All that stuff is like these crazy abstractions.
What do you think create family problems? Systemic racism creates family problems. If you take away black people from their families, then they're going to have broken families.
Okay, so, but that's interesting. How are you taking them away? Aren't they leaving? They're not staying with the women they're impregnating. So, for example, there 13% of the population is black. Not every single person ends up in jail, obviously, and yet there's huge child abandonment because there's a cultural expectation that is different in Black America than in white America, which is it's okay to impregnate a woman and abandon her in Black America. It's not
based on what? What is that based on?
That's a good question. Where does it come from? It's just based on.
No, I'm saying what is that like your view of Black America?
Well, it's not a view. It's true. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at Thomas Sowell and Shelby Steele that have done amazing analysis on this. It's that in Black culture, that is not considered to be a stigma. In white upper middle class culture, for those of you that grew up in Waukesha or Libertyville or grew up in Hinsdale or grew up in Naperville, you guys all know those neighborhoods. If you impregnate a girl, a woman, and you just like abandon her, that's frowned upon. That is a social stigma in upper middle class white culture.
And it's not in Black culture?
No. In fact, it's glorified by the rap culture. It is.
I think
Yes.
rap culture is showing what happened. I don't think it's.
Do you think that the songs that are the most popular in Black America are uplifting Black America to be better versions of themselves?
I think the most popular
Like Nicki
songs
Minaj, Cardi B. Do you think that they're like empowering people to be great?
Well, I do think Cardi B and Nicki Minaj are empowering. But when you talk about like Black, like let's go like Kendrick or whatever, like. They're talking about their life experiences and they're saying, this is what happened to me. And people relate to that because that's also what happened to them. It's not saying this is the greatest thing in the entire world.
Does it lift up the audience to become better?
I would think so. Because it's like,
how?
Because it's saying we all relate to this. We can all, like, this is our story. We can be, like, better than this. Even though it's, like, I mean, there's better, there's not better. It depends on what your worldview is. But I think that rap is good because it can like.
No, I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm saying like just the essence, the core, the ethos is not exactly about like quitting drinking, quitting drugs, and getting married and having children.
No, it's about what you have done, not about like.
No, but just like to be clear, like in Black rap culture, is it generally glorified to go sleep with a lot of women?
I mean, that's your view of it.
I'm asking a question. Is it in Black rap culture?
Yes
or no, guys? In Black rap culture,
is glorify women
to be able to sleep with a lot of women.
I mean, I think that's one aspect, yeah.
Okay, so let's just take that aspect.
Because it's a luxury that people can do. And, like, it's one of the things that people can do and everyone can relate to. Or a lot of people can relate to.
Shouldn't ideally your culture try to elevate and try to challenge the individual to virtue and goodness, not try to bring them down to the lowest parts of their...
I'm not saying that they are bringing them down. I'm saying that this is what they are doing and they are sharing their...
Chad, I really hope y'all paying attention to what's going on here. I really hope y'all paying attention to what's going on. You got to think 3 or 4 steps ahead to what's going on with this conversation. Why is it even happening? Let's keep going.
Experiences. They're not saying this is the best thing in the entire world. They're saying this is what I have been through.
Like sleeping with a lot of women.
Yeah.
Or like gang violence and, you know...
I mean, if that's what, like, a lot of people have been through gang violence because that's what's happening in their neighborhoods. They feel like that's the only option. And you might know that that's not the only option, but when you are living in that neighborhood and you don't see any jobs, this is how your family was raising you, what other option do you have? And once you're in it, it's really hard to get out.
So got it. You talk about systemic racism and that being a major driver of Black America's failure to launch, if you will. We subsidize single motherhood in this country. So if you stay single as a single mother, you get money from the federal government, and it's basically subsidized, if you will.
I'm gonna tell you this is my opinion. This conversation right here between dads and kids, or parents and kids, is happening all over America, guys. This conversation right here is happening in white households all over this country, in my opinion.
Well,
sure.
Can we at least agree that if the nuclear family in Black America was stronger and tighter knit, that would be a good thing?
In a lot of cases, yeah. I think if the father's abusive, I would not want him there. So I think it really depends on like what family you're talking about. I don't think you can generalize.
What percentage of fathers do you think are abusive?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I would say it's probably small, right?
Not like, I don't know. I have no idea. I have not done research on what percentage of fathers.
But generally, it's good when mom and dad stays around and is raising the kid.
I would say if they are both healthy parents and they are both ready to have a child, it's great.
Got it.
My father, not ready to have a child, do not want him around
just
me.
one last question on role models. Let's say there's a black kid right now. Would you rather have that black kid have a role model be Kendrick Lamar or Clarence Thomas?
Kendrick, obviously.
So not the black American on the United States Supreme Court.
No, he's trying to ban interracial marriage. He's trying to do all.
Wow, no, he's in an interracial marriage.
He literally
He's married to a white woman.
Yeah, I know the Roe v. Wade thing goes against.
He's trying to ban his own marriage.
Yes.
I thought I'm
sorry to break it to you.
So we agree that there should be better role models, maybe.
Hey Tim, you exactly right. You exactly right. Hey Tim. That's what it is.
When have I ever said that there should not be? I'm agreeing with you that there should be fathers if they are right for that. We're agreeing.
And last question, you're voting for Kamala, I'm guessing?
How can you tell? Yeah.
Okay, what's her greatest accomplishment?
Probably capping capping the insulin at $35.
She did that. Yeah. What else?
I mean, you said her greatest. I'm just saying that's the thing that goes off the top of my mind is Big Pharma. I'm sure you're anti-Big Pharma.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why all the pharmaceutical companies are donating to her. That's right. So, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Enjoy voting for Kamala.
Man, that was good.
Yes. Hello. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing? Good.
That
My
was
first
good,
question
guys.
it relates with Donald Trump's morals and characters. Morals and character excuses are often made for him, but that has not been the case for most presidents, and I'd like to discuss that with you. Donald Trump has continuously shown low morals and poor character, and I understand that you are a pretty strong evangelical Christian. Is that correct? And I don't think Donald Trump exemplifies strong Christianity, so I'd like to know what you think about that.
So, great question. So are you a Christian? I just want to know by what standard you're judging him.
I personally am not a Christian.
Okay, so that's interesting to me. Why do you then care about what Christians think of Trump if you yourself are not a Christian?
Well, I believe Christianity still does play a great role in this country.
Fair enough. No, I just want to know by what standard you're judging him. That's fine. So when we're selecting a leader, all of us are sinners. All of us have problems. His character flaws are definitely public for those that can see it. I will say, though, that he has a lot of virtues. Would you say he has any virtues?
What basis are you saying? What virtues do you think he
courage.
possesses? Okay, courage. I think.
Like if you and I got shot, how would we react?
Well, I don't know. I think that we're straying a little bit from the question.
No, but it's important though. So,
bro.
what moral failures in particular do you think are disqualifying from a Christian standpoint for him to serve in office or gain support from Christians?
Well, I actually do have some things pulled up, and I did read some scripture in preparation as well. Would you mind if I provided some of that?
Sure. Give me one or two examples.
Yeah.
And as long as you're applying the standard consistently to, for example, King David, Samson, Daniel, Joseph, and many figures in the Bible who are considered to be virtuous and righteous, because we're all sinners, and you know that.
Sure.
But
yeah, absolutely.
Please give me some examples.
Yeah, well, I'd like to quote a couple pieces of scripture. First from, it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, and to value others above yourself." But Trump has continuously put himself over American citizens.
Yeah, let me ask you a question on that. He's gotten poorer since he ran for office. He's lost his business empire. He's been impeached twice, indicted 4 times, facing 700 years in federal prison. How is that putting his own personal ambition first? He's facing life imprisonment, his business empire to be taken away from him. That's actually putting the country above himself, isn't it?
Well, yes, but what about him selling golden sneakers, selling branded Bibles, which he claims to be the only one he endorses, $100,000 watches?
So yeah, I mean, but selling products to try to pay for legal fees is probably understandable, right?
But
how much do you think he's spending in legal fees a month?
Isn't that telling that he's a 34-time convicted felon, though?
Well, that's interesting. So do you think the standard of justice is equally applied of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton?
Well, no, but look what you guys said about
Hillary
Hillary
Clinton. That's very important, though, because do you think that Donald Trump would be experiencing this kind of criminality against him if his name wasn't Trump?
Yes.
Really?
I do.
So then why is it that no one's ever been indicted for what he got convicted for ever before in New York history?
Isn't that a great question?
Yes.
Why hasn't he been indicted?
No. Why has no one else ever been indicted for what he was indicted for? They made up a crime, the first ever for Donald Trump.
I don't.
So let me ask you, from a Christian perspective. We all fall short of the glory of God.
Correct.
Okay, amen. And throughout the Bible, people who are sinners, such as I mentioned King David, who did a lot worse things than Donald Trump. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of King David. He literally not only committed adultery, he got the person he committed adultery with, Bathsheba's husband, sent him to the front of the line, got him murdered and killed so that he continued to commit adultery. Yet he was a man after God's own heart. We have Samson, who literally, when God came upon Samson, he was in a bed with prostitutes and was in the Hall of Faith in the book of Hebrews. We are not electing Donald Trump as a pastor of this country. We're electing him as a president. And we also see what he does. And this is a very important moral question. Let's say I grant you that Donald Trump embodies some of the sins that you and I both don't like. Is it matter more of what he's done in his personal life? Or does it matter more, for example, when you invade a sovereign country like Iraq and commit war crimes against millions of people?
Well, Donald Trump has contrasted multiple Christian values, but I don't.
Well, hold on, this is important though. Have we ever heard the mainstream media or yourself come up and say, how could a Christian vote for George W. Bush? Have you ever heard that argument?
No, but...
Well, hold on. George W. Bush invaded a sovereign country under lies and pretenses, and thousands of American soldiers died, and hundreds of thousands have PTSD, and millions of people had their lives displaced. We never say that George W. Bush was a bad Christian, yet Donald Trump was the one that didn't declare any new wars. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald Trump was the one that fought for the unborn and got abortion, Roe versus Wade repealed, and we have abortion laws across the country that are pro-life. The point is that it's easy to nitpick at Donald Trump's personal life, but what he actually did to impact the country was far greater than other presidents that called themselves Christians in years past.
Okay. It still doesn't quite make sense why a Christian would vote for him, but I appreciate your input. I guess I put that very vaguely. I don't understand how Christians are okay with so much that he does, because he also refuses to accept responsibility and take accountability.
Well, but because we read the Bible, and the Bible is full of people that have very, very difficult, let's just say, colorful lives, and still are used for God's purpose. And and by the way, it's very easy to say, are you a sinner? You're not a Christian, but let's just say,
yes, I've sinned.
Yeah, we're all sinners. And so we look at Donald Trump and we say, wow, this is a guy who's obviously broken. We're all broken. And what do you do with your broken life? Do you just golf all the time and fly around the world and hope things get better? Or do you get in the arena and fight for the country to the extent of where you get shot, you're under assassination attempts every day, and your business empire gets taken from you? That's incredible virtue that I'm going to teach my kids about and say, even if your back is against the wall, you keep on fighting. I think that's incredibly virtuous.
Okay. And I understand I'm not going to change your mind on this. So this is mostly...
You asked for an explanation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So I respect that. Now, you mentioned children that you have, and raising them by morals. I mean, this is somebody who's running for the president of the United States. And as a matter of fact, traditional Christian theologian and philosopher Albert Schweitzer said that example is not the main thing in influencing others, it is the only thing. Now, the words of the president matter, and I understand you're raising 2 children. So he has been on track calling prisoners of wars losers. He lied to dodge
He has never said that. Is not correct. That is a total lie, but that's fine. So,
lied to dodge the military.
That is also not correct, but fine.
Called citizens vermin.
Well, he called foreigners in the country that have broken into the country vermin.
Okay.
You know who he called vermin? He called the Venezuelan gang members that rape women vermin. Can we all agree that they're vermin, everybody? Yeah. But that's fine. Just keep going. Yeah, I mean.
And his continuous bullying and name calling, I don't think that's a virtue you'd like to...
No, this is important. I want to say that, okay, let's pretend all that's right. Let's pretend that you weren't being fed misinformation. No, but I want to be clear. What is more virtuous? The guy that says stuff he shouldn't say, or the person that sends $200 billion on unnecessary war in Ukraine so 1 million people die? You have to choose. Which one would you rather have? Someone that talks sloppily or someone that funds wars around the world?
Okay, I was in the middle of my question.
No, it's important, though.
Your own, though.
No, it's important because I wanted to hear from you, though, because you obviously are not a supporter of Trump, and Trump is constantly under this attack that he's immoral and he's terrible, yet we never judge the actions of our leaders who continue to have wars around the world where people die. Is that immoral to do?
It is immoral, but
I agree. So then why are we so fixated on the language of Trump and not on the actions of our current leaders?
First of all, our current leader, Biden, is not running for presidency this year.
Well, no, but the vice president is actually, and she's also in charge.
But not in charge the same way Joe Biden is currently.
Well, Joe Biden's certainly not in charge, so who's running the government?
Who is running? What's your answer to that?
I don't know. Like, we don't know who's running the government, actually, and it's horrifying. I mean, Kamala Harris went to the Munich Security Conference and provoked Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. She was in charge of the border. She was the border czar. The point is this, is that you can look through Donald Trump's language. People say he lies. He actually exaggerates, and those are two different things. But Donald Trump doesn't get in trouble for his exaggerations. He gets in trouble for telling the truth. And I'll give you an example. He gets in trouble for all of a sudden saying, oh, wow, the border's wide open. You're not allowed to say that. You seem super happy. Have a great day. Thank you. Gracious. I love you, Charlie! Thank you, guys. No, but I want to try to find some common ground here and try to see where you could... Well, I'm not going to make an excuse for everything a human being has done that it's not myself. Sure. But I will say that his track record of action has been very good for the country, and that is irrefutable.
Well, okay. May I
in summary, yes, and then we'll get to another question.
Okay. So what I was going to say is, right now with Hurricane Helene and Milton, he is profusely lying and criticizing the Biden and Harris administration. But local officials...
How?
By saying he's siphoning money out for illegal immigrants.
No, that's totally true.
That's not true. FEMA said it's not true.
You guys could hold on a second. FEMA literally says in their press release that they had a fund dedicated towards the southern border being a natural disaster, and they spent billions of dollars accommodating foreigners in this country with luxury hotels and interior flights. You can look at it yourself. FEMA gets money appropriated, and they decided to spend that money on the southern border and not on hurricane relief or tornado relief. Okay. That's a fact. And by the way, I'm not alone in that. A lot of senators agree. You could look it up yourself. I don't know, but see that's not a lie though. But you're accusing him of being a liar when he's telling the truth. You just made my point.
No, but you keep interrupting me. You're not letting me finish anything.
Because you're not. First of all, this is not your hour. This is my hour. You're asking me questions, right?
Yes.
Secondly,
but does that mean you get to respect me differently?
Well, I know I'm totally respecting you, but if you're saying something that's not true, I'm not going to waste our time on that. Make one final point, please, about Donald Trump's character.
Local government officials have commended the job that Biden and Harris have done in giving them the aid they need. But Trump, in his rallies, he's...
I'm sorry, Chad. I got to rewind this. I got to pay attention. I wasn't really paying attention to this segment. I'm sorry, Chad. Please forgive me, but I got to rewind this exchange.
I'm good. How are you doing? Good. My first question relates with Donald Trump's morals and characters. Morals and character. Excuses are often made for him, but that has not been the case for most presidents, and I'd like to discuss that with you.
I'm going to come back to that, guys.
As first partners on defense, first partners in trade, with the groundbreaking deal we struck.
I'm going to come back to that, Chad.
And now with the new agreement that we've just signed this afternoon, we're confirming our status as the first partners in science and technology, ready to define this century together, just as we did the last. This tech partnership has the power to change lives. It's our chance to ensure that technologies like AI, quantum, and others amplify human potential, solve problems, cure diseases, make us richer and freer, strengthen the cause of democracy, not tyranny. This is the territory on which the future will be won. So this partnership today is a signal of our determination to win this race together and to ensure it brings real benefits in jobs, in growth, in lower bills, to put more hard-earned cash in people's pockets at the end of each month. That's what we're determined to deliver. And we're bringing businesses with us. We've just come from a fantastic meeting with business leaders where we set out this vision. They have responded with new deals and investment, breaking every record that we have. £250 billion flowing both ways across the Atlantic. That is a record. Expected to create 15,000 jobs here in the United Kingdom, high-skilled jobs in cutting-edge sectors where people can build careers for the long term, changing lives in communities up and down our country. And look, while we shape this bond for a new era, the fundamentals have not changed. Security remains the cornerstone of this special relationship. We have the deepest, most advanced defence relationship in the world. Our warriors train together and they fight together. Our industries build together, everything from fast jets to the new AUKUS-class submarines. So now, as we drive up defence spending, we're going to sweep away the barriers to working together on new defence technologies so we can stay ahead of our adversaries. We're united in defence and security, yes, absolutely. But we're also united in the pursuit of peace. We are working together to end the humanitarian catastrophe in the Middle East, get the aid in, free the hostages, and ultimately bring Israel and the region back towards a comprehensive plan which can deliver peace and security for Israelis and Palestinians alike. We're also working together to end the killing in Ukraine. In recent days, Putin has shown his true face, mounting the biggest attacks since the invasion began, with yet more bloodshed, yet more innocents killed, and unprecedented violations of NATO airspace. These are not the actions of someone who wants peace. So we've discussed today how we can build our defences further, support Ukraine, and decisively increase the pressure on Putin to get him to agree a peace deal that will last. And President Trump, you have led the way here, and we will continue to stand and work together for security and for peace. Mr. President, next year we'll celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States. We've come on a long journey together since 1776. But it's no exaggeration to say that the partnership our two nations have built has shaped the world from the beaches of Normandy to the founding of NATO, to the creation of technologies that have revolutionized our lives. Time and time again, it is British and American men and women side by side, changing the path of history and turning it towards our values, towards freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. In Britain, we take huge pride in that. And let's be clear, this relationship is not just about history, it's about the future. It's about the benefits it delivers now and for decades to come, to make our people safer and better off. We've shown today that we're delivering those benefits, improving people's lives. So we will go into that anniversary year more optimistic than ever and more confident than ever about our two great nations and what they can achieve side by side. Thank you. And it is now my pleasure to give the floor to Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, very much. Prime Minister Starmer, Melania and I are tremendously thankful for the wonderful hospitality that you and Lady Starmer have extended today at Chequers. Quite the place, I must say, quite the place. And we're grateful beyond words for the spectacular honor of the state visit yesterday at Windsor Castle, hosted by His Majesty King Charles III and Her Majesty Queen Camilla. These are two fantastic people. We will never forget it. As I said last night, the bond between our countries is like no other anywhere in the world. The United States and the United Kingdom have done more good on this planet than any two nations in human history. That is thanks in large part to the traditions of British liberty, which grew up on these isles, these beautiful, magnificent isles, and were carried by our ancestors to the New World. we're forever joined, and we are forever friends, and we will always be friends. This enduring connection is why I was thrilled that the United Kingdom was the very first country with which we made a historic trade deal, and a very good trade deal. He's a tough negotiator. I think it was a better deal for you than us, but these are minor details.
It's a very good deal for both of us.
He's a great negotiator who will extend our unparalleled security alliance into the realm of economic security for the first time, and I look forward to finalizing it very soon. We'll have it done very quickly. We have also just signed a historic technology prosperity deal, one of a kind, to ensure our countries lead the next great technological revolution side by side. In fact, we just left the business leaders, the biggest in the world. Some are in this room right now. And that was quite a meeting we had on business and trade and technology. This trip has galvanized $350 billion in deals across many sectors, and we're committed to ensuring that the UK has a secure and reliable supply of the best AI hardware and software on Earth. And we supply that, and we'll make sure we supply it in quantity to the UK. And we also are joining forces on quantum computing and nuclear power, a natural partnership for close allies. The United States, as you probably have heard, is doing better than it has ever done in terms of business and investment. The stock market has hit a new high, as you know, and that's for many, many days out of our fairly short 8 months. And we seem to be hitting new highs, and I think we're going to do much better even as time goes by. Jobs are at a record, and most importantly, we have more than $17 trillion, $17 trillion, and this is during an 8-month period being invested in the country, which is not only a record, but if you compare $17 trillion to the last year of the Biden administration, they did $250 billion. They didn't do $1 trillion for the 4-year period. We did $17 trillion of investment coming in. A lot of it's because of tariffs, and a lot of it's for a lot of other reasons, but there's never been anything like it. It's an economic superstar. That's what's become. It was mismanaged and badly handled for a long period of time, but it's not badly handled anymore. So that's a record. And remember, that's up until 8 months. We have another few months to go, and that number is going to get significantly higher, especially if we win a certain case that we're waiting to hear. That will be something like the world has never seen. I want to congratulate the United Kingdom on making the vital commitment to spend 5% of GDP on defense at the NATO summit this year. We've worked together very closely in so many ways. I'm very honored to tell you that we've solved 7 wars, wars that were unsolvable, wars that couldn't be negotiated or done. The U.S. has done 7 of them. The one that I thought would be easiest would be because of my relationship with President Putin, but he's let me down. He's really let me down. It was going to be Russia and Ukraine, but we'll see how that turns out. But that turned out to be, I thought it might be among the easiest of the group. But we had settled just about every conflict, and as you know, we're working very hard on Israel and Gaza. All that's happening over there. Complex, but it's going to get done. It'll all get done right. And likewise, Russia and Ukraine will get done. But you never know in war. You know, war is a different thing. Things happen that are very opposite of what you thought. You thought you were going to have an easy time or a hard time, and it turns out to be the reverse. As we saw in the unforgettable parade yesterday at Windsor Castle, what a place it is. The British Armed Forces carry on one of the finest military traditions in the world, one of the greatest marching bands, one of the most magnificent sights I've seen. I know that our service members look forward, and we do look so forward to working even more closely with yours as you push toward that 5% goal. And I think, Mr. Prime Minister, you're just about there. You're going to be there very quickly, along with a lot of other great countries. I want to thank NATO and our wonderful head of NATO, who's really worked very hard, Mark, for the job they've done. As you know, NATO was at 2% GDP, and they didn't pay it. Now they're at 5%, then they pay it. And we appreciate that. And we're sending a lot of weapons to NATO. NATO is paying for those weapons in full. But we're sending them, and we're doing a great job at getting them what they need. And we appreciate the fact that they're taking care of, because the United States is into that war for $350 billion. And just really very sad. It just got out of control. They didn't know what they were doing. But over the generations, British and American warriors have shed their blood side by side in defense of liberty and freedom. And that's why it's so imperative that the United States and the United Kingdom stand together for these fundamental rights and values of the English-speaking world. And we've always stood together, and we will continue to. Just last week, a great American, Charlie Kirk, was heinously assassinated for speaking his mind. He was a great young man. Incredible future. Some people said he might be president someday. I told him, I said, Charlie, I think you have a good shot someday at being president. And he just wanted to take care of youth. He loved youth. I've never seen anybody relate to youth like Charlie, and they related to him, and they're devastated. But I appreciate the many British citizens who have offered their condolences. And again, Charlie was a great person. We'll be going out to a service on Sunday. I'll be leaving with some of the people in this room just to celebrate Charlie and all that he's done. So incredible. Never seen anything like it. But I hope that together our nations can lead a movement to defend the glorious traditions of freedom on both sides of the Atlantic. There could be no greater tribute to the immortal bonds of affection and loyalty that unite the British and the American people for all of time. We have a relationship like no other. It will always be that way. We will always be united. We'll always be together. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for the great job I think you're doing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We're going to take some questions. I'll call 2 or 3 to start with, and then I'll pass over to the President. I've got Chris Mason from the BBC first. Chris.
Thank you both. Chris Mason, BBC News. Mr. President, the UK is expected to recognise a Palestinian state in the coming days as the killing in Gaza continues. It often seems that you're the only person that Israel will listen to. What more can you say to them to tell them to stop? And why is the UK's position on a Palestinian state, in your view, wrong? And Prime Minister, what will the recognition of a Palestinian state actually achieve? Is it not just gesture politics to appease people in your own party? Thank you both.
Well, Chris, let me just start with that, because we discussed this amongst other things. We had the best part of an hour, I think, upstairs earlier today, just one-to-one, going through a number of affairs, world affairs, in private. And we absolutely agree on the need for peace and a roadmap, because the situation in Gaza is intolerable. The hostages have been held for a very, very long time, and they must be freed. And we need aid to get into Gaza at speed. And so it's within that context of a plan for peace, which we're working hard on, which not only did we discuss this morning, but our 2 teams have been working together on, that the question of recognition needs to be seen. And so it's part of that overall package which hopefully takes us from the appalling situation we're in now to the outcome of a safe and secure Israel, which we do not have, and a viable Palestinian state. Thank you.
Well, simply, I want the hostages released now, right now, not 1, 2, we'll give you 3 more tomorrow, and, you know, like it's been, but we're the ones that got all the hostages released. We got many, many came to the Oval Office, and I've heard stories like I've never thought even possible. There was no humanity, no anything. I said to them, I said, was there any warmth shown during this stay, like they offered you a little extra meal, they gave you a little smile, and they said, don't worry, you'll be okay. And every one of them said, not even a little bit. Amazing, you know, to think that during this stay, long stay in some cases. We had a man the other day, 451 days he was there. I always ask that question. And was there any warmth shown? Just a little word of, encouragement. And the answer is every time, absolutely not. I'm shocked to hear it, because in the worst cases, there's always somebody that comes through. We have to remember October 7th, one of the worst, most violent days in the history of the world, not just there, the history of the world. And I got to see the tapes, and I wish I didn't see them, actually, but I got to see them. And I want an end. I want the hostages released, and I think it's going to be okay. But it has been a brutal period of time. But this has been going on for a long time. This is not something that's over the last year, 2 years, but this has been for decades and decades. But we want it to end. We have to have the hostages back immediately. That's what the people of Israel want. They want them back. And we want the fighting to stop, and it's going to stop. But a lot of bad things. Hamas said that they're going to put the hostages up as bait. They're going to put the hostages in front of any attack. And that's pretty brutal. We haven't heard that one in a long time. So we have to remember that. So I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score. Okay? One of our few disagreements, actually.
Great. Can I take Jack from The Sun? Jack.
Thank you both. Jack Elson from The Sun. Mr. President, in the 9 months you've been in office, you've been incredibly successful in all but eliminating crossings on your southern border.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, illegal migration is at record levels in Britain. The Prime Minister is trying to tackle that. What advice would you give to the man standing next to you on trying to stop illegal migration in Britain? And Prime Minister, if I can just ask, the President is all about drill, baby, drill in terms of trying to secure American energy and cut bills for Americans. Meanwhile, you are turning Britain's back on oil and gas in favour of renewable energies, such as wind turbines. Why do you think that you are right and he is wrong?
So we had millions of people flowing in, totally unchecked, totally unvetted from the Biden administration. 25 million, in my opinion, that would be about 25 million. They came from prisons, they came from mental institutions, they were gang members, they were drug dealers. They came from the Congo. They came from all parts of South America. They came from everywhere. Think of it. Prisoners from the Congo being released into the United States. Prisons opened up in Venezuela and many other countries pouring into the United States. And I couldn't believe it. One of the reasons I decided to run. I decided to run because I don't want to be controversial, but you see what's happened and you see all the information that's come out. We won in 2020 big. And I said, let's run. We got to run, because I saw what was happening. And the worst thing that I saw was all of these people. We've already solved inflation. We've solved prices. Oil is way down. Energy is way down in the United States. But what I saw happening with millions of people pouring into our country, I couldn't stand to watch it. And we've done a great job. Nobody, if you've seen the last, I appreciate your question, by the way, nobody, absolutely zero, and I'm not even sure that's possible, but it's a very liberal group that come out with those statistics. The last 3 months, we had zero. From millions of people a year ago, we had zero people enter our country illegally. And we do have people coming in legally through a legal process and testing and lots of other things. I think it's very important, and we speak about it. And I think your situation is very similar. You have people coming in, and I told the Prime Minister I would stop it. And it doesn't matter if you call out the military, it doesn't matter what means you use, but it's going to destroys countries from within. And we're actually now removing a lot of the people that came into our country. It's a very hard chore. We were given a very, very bad hand. Millions of people came in from prisons and mental institutions. We have to remove them, and we are removing them. We have no choice, and I feel very strongly about it. Thank you very much.
Jack, let me just deal with the question of returns, because this is obviously an issue we're taking incredibly seriously. We've struck a number of deals, both on cooperation with other countries, because this is a problem right across Europe, to tackle the problem of actually breaking up the gangs that are running this trade. We have had a record number of returns, over 35,000 now since we came into office. That's the highest number for the best part of 10 years. We struck the returns arrangement with France And notwithstanding the challenges to that scheme, which you've seen in the last few days, a flight went off at 6:15 this morning, successfully returning someone under that scheme. So that is an important step forward. Obviously, there's no silver bullet here. There's a range of things that need to be done. But given the challenges of returning people, it is important that we're able to prove it can be done. It was done. It was done early this morning. So I can confirm that that flight went. It went successfully. And I'm pleased about that. Now we need to ramp that up at scale, which was always envisaged under the scheme, but it's very important that we have been able to prove that the proof of concept, if you like, that this can be done and will continue in that way. On the question of energy, firstly, let me be really clear that I am absolutely determined to ensure that the price and cost of energy comes down, so that bills come down both for individuals, for families, with their household bills, but also for business, because this is so important. The mix will include oil and gas for many years to come from the North Sea. We've been clear about that for some time, but we also need to mix that with renewables, and it's the mix that's really important. And the approach I've taken on this is the same approach that I take to many other things, a pragmatic approach. Thank you, Jack.
I would like to say that we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. We had inflation, the likes of which we've really never seen. They say 48 years, and I'll accept that, but I really don't. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and we had a expression that I used a lot, drill, baby, drill. And as you know, we brought fuel way down, the prices way down. And we don't do wind because wind is a disaster. It's a very expensive joke, frankly. And we got our energy prices way down. That brought the inflation way down, and now we have very little inflation, and we have a very, very strong economy. So that was very important. Drill, baby, drill. And you have a great asset here, and we spoke about it. It's called the North Sea. The North Sea oil is phenomenal, and I hope, because I love this country, you know. My mother was born in Scotland, and the Hebrides, Stornoway, that's serious Scotland. We were talking about it. And I want this country to do well. And you have great assets that you're going to start using, I believe, under this Prime Minister.
Thank you. And I've got Matthew from The Economist. Matthew.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Mr. President, you say that President Putin has let you down. Have negotiations run out of road, and what are your next steps to compel an end to this war?
Well, he has let me down. I mean, he's killing many people, and he's losing more people than he's killing. Yeah. I mean, frankly, the Russian soldiers are being killed at a higher rate than the Ukrainian soldiers. But, yeah, he said, let me down. I don't like to see. It's death. You know, it doesn't affect the United States. We have, other than unless you end up in a world war over this thing, you could. This was a thing that would have never happened had I been president. If I were president, it would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. Most people agree it didn't happen, nor was it close to happening. And I spoke to President Putin about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. I've said that many times. It was. But he would have never done what he did, except that he didn't respect the leadership of the United States. They just went through the Afghanistan total disaster for no reason whatsoever. We're going to leave Afghanistan, but we're going to leave it with strength and dignity. And we're going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. We're trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So a lot of things are happening, but I am very disappointed in the fact that that one's not settled. To think that we settled Azerbaijan and Albania as an example, it was going on for years. It was never going to be settled. If you remember, the Prime Minister and the presidents, they were there for many years. They said, when they were in my office, we settled. And they started off at both sides of the Oval Office, so far away. I didn't know you could be so far away. And as we were together for an hour, they kept getting closer, closer. And by the time we finished, we all hugged each other. And one said, I've been in this position for 22 years, and all I've done is kill their people. The other was there for 7 years, and all he did was kill their people. And we got it settled. And we did others, as you know. Congo, the Congo, we settled the Congo with Rwanda. That was going on, and that was a machete war. That was a gruesome war. Many people, close to 10 million people killed. We got that settled. My biggest disappointment, but it's, you know, look, we did 7, and most of them were not thought to be settleable. We did India and we did Pakistan. That's 2 nuclear. That was purely for trade. You want to trade with us, you're going to have to get along. And they were going at it hot and heavy. But the Russia situation, I hope we're going to have some good news for you coming up. But again, it doesn't affect the United States. And look, it doesn't so much affect you. Of course, you are a lot closer to the scene than we are. We have a whole ocean separating us. But I will say this, it's millions of people have died in that war, millions of souls. And they're not American. The soldiers, mostly soldiers, as you know. The soldiers are being killed at levels that nobody's seen since the Second World War. But they're being killed, and I feel I have an obligation to get it settled for that reason. Thank you.
And just to add on that question, because we have to put extra pressure on Putin. And it's only when the president has put pressure on Putin that he's actually shown any inclination to move. So we have to ramp that pressure up. I think it's important to have this conversation in the context of what's happened in recent weeks. We saw damage and bombing to the British Council in Kyiv. These are targets that it was thought until recently were not targets that would be hit. The British Council, the European Union Embassy, the Council of Ministers, where President Zelensky's ministers work was hit. Again, these were thought to be places that wouldn't be hit. And then the incursion into Poland last week. And if you put that together, what you can see is either an emboldenment or at least an increased recklessness on Putin's part. And that's why I said earlier that they're not the actions of someone who wants peace. So we have to ramp up. And we discussed earlier today, we have built the coalition of the willing with British leadership and French leadership, stepping up with military planning in the seas, in the sky, on the ground, and ramping up what we do with the Ukrainians themselves. And of course, that taken with an American guarantee is now an example, I think, of the challenge of Europe stepping up to the plate, which it has done in the last few months, to show through what we and the French have done that we're prepared to take the lead in this and take the necessary measures.
But that's a war that could have been a third world war, and I don't think we're going to be there now. But that was heading to a third world war. And what a shame it is. What a shame it is.
Mr. President, do you want to call some of the...
I would love to call a few of them. Bev, do you want to have a question?
I've got to come back to you.
Bev Turner, GB News. Thank you. Having been in DC for a few weeks, it's really interesting to see how you run the country as a proud Christian leader. And it really begs the question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind, are we still a Christian country? But also... when
you say we, are you talking here or...?
Here. The UK. I'm still British. I might live in America. I'm still British. But also...
I can't give you that answer.
That's for the Prime Minister. But also... despite what we talked about in Scotland a few weeks ago, we still have 12,000 people a year here being arrested for social media posts, for free speech violations. Does that not remain an important area that there is still a lot of disagreement on?
I'd like to have you answer that.
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of a Christian country, I was christened, so that is, my church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution. Of course, we celebrate many other faiths as well, and I'm really proud that we're able to do so as a country. And on free speech, that has long lived in this country, free speech. It's one of the founding values of the United Kingdom, and we protect it jealously and fiercely, and always will, and we will bear down on any limits on free speech. I draw a limit between free speech and the speech of those that want to peddle paedophilia and suicide social media to children, and therefore I'm all for free speech. I'm also for protecting children from things that will harm them, paedophiles, those that peddle suicide, which has had a terrible consequence for individual, particularly teenagers. And so that's the balance we strike. But we have had freedom of speech in this country for a very long time, and we will always protect it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brian, please.
Thank you. Prime Minister, it's good to see you again. You have a beautiful country. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being
Two
here.
questions. One, just recently, President Trump labeled Antifa domestic terrorists. Would you consider doing something like that in your country?
Well, we obviously will take decisions for ourselves. I don't want to comment on the decisions of the president, but we take our decisions ourselves.
And my question to you, President Trump, is there any update on the auto pen?
Yeah, it's just gotten worse from their standpoint. The people that used it, and one in particular, one person, was never told by Biden to do it. Only spoke to Biden twice, and that was just talking about the weather, not talking about any order. And he was taking orders from people other than Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't giving those orders. You know, Joe Biden didn't believe in open borders. He didn't. I've known him for a long time. He was never the brightest bulb in the ceiling, as we know. You can go back 40 years ago and you'll see that. Go back and take a look at the hearings on Justice Thomas, and you'll see that very much. But he didn't believe in open borders and all of this nonsense that they're peddling now, which is why they're not in office any longer. It's a shame. The auto pen was illegal. It was illegally used. He never gave the orders. He never told them what to do. And I guess the only one he signed, or one of the few he signed, was the pardon for his son. But you had the congressman who, when they got the information, they found out they were guilty, and they deleted and destroyed all information, everything. You couldn't get any of it. They found out that Nancy Pelosi actually was offered the 10,000 soldiers, and she turned them down. They found out many things that were very bad. So they deleted and destroyed all information. You talk about freedom of the press and freedom of speech. How about that one? And there's not a thing. This is after a year and a half of hearings. They destroyed everything. And somebody's got to be held responsible. So Biden, what he did is they knew, I don't think he knew, but somebody knew. I don't think Biden had a clue about anything, if you want to know the truth. But they gave a pardon to those Congress people. They gave a pardon. Those people are so guilty. They gave a pardon, but Biden didn't know about it. The people, whether it's Lisa or any of those people in there that really ran it, I know them all. And they're sick people. They're smart people. They're very smart. They're probably brilliant, but they're sick in ideology. And they were running the auto pen, and it was totally illegal what he did. And I hope it's going to be so adjudged.
Do you want to take one more, and then I'll go
Okay.
back to British?
Let's see. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. In the deal that you're working on for the Chinese to sell TikTok to an American buyer, are the Americans going to have to come up with their own algorithm, or are they going to continue to use the successful but addictive Chinese algorithm?
So what we're doing, and we're speaking to President Xi on Friday to see if we can finalize something on TikTok, because there is tremendous value, and I hate to give away value, but I like TikTok. It helped get me elected. In fact, Charlie said, "Sir, you ought to get on TikTok. You'd be great." I said, "Really? Tell me about TikTok." And we, as you know, we did unbelievably well with youth, like at a level that no Republican has ever even dreamt of. And in what, you know, look, I think we won it for a lot of reasons, but that was a reason we won the election by such a big number. TikTok has tremendous value. The United States has that value in its hand because we're the ones that have to approve it. I specifically get the right to approve it. The people that are investing it are among the greatest investors in the world, the biggest, the richest, and they'll do a great job. And we're doing it in conjunction with China. But we are getting, the United States is getting a tremendous fee plus, I call it a fee plus, for just making the deal. And I don't want to throw that out the window. I can say this, that you'll have a lot of very unhappy youth. And I use TikTok very legitimately, very straight, just statements every day, little statements, short statements. "Sir, make it short, please." And TikTok Jack, we call him. It was pretty good. Did a good job for me, I guess. But no, I'd rather reap the benefits. I mean, the kind of money we're talking about is very substantial, and it'll be owned by all American investors and, you know, the best investors and the, you know, very rich people and companies are going to be owning it. Very, very straight, very legitimate companies, and really companies that love America. So they're going to be owning it. It's a big thing. And on a much bigger scale, and probably that's why we were able to get that, but on a much bigger scale, we're pretty close to a deal. We may do an extension with China, but it's an extension based on the same terms that we have right now, which are pretty good terms.
And my question for Prime Minister Starmer, if you feel so strongly about officially recognizing Palestine for statehood, why are you waiting for President Trump to leave the country? Why can't you just do it right now? And isn't there a risk in rewarding Hamas with that?
Well, let me be really clear about Hamas. They're a terrorist organization who can have no part in any future governance in Palestine. And what happened on October the 7th was the worst attack since the Holocaust. We have extended family in Israel. I understand firsthand the psychological impact that that had across Israel. So I know exactly where I stand in relation to Hamas. Hamas, of course, don't want a two-state solution. They don't want peace. They don't want a ceasefire. So I'm very clear where I stand on Hamas. Okay. On the question of recognition, I made my position clear at the end of July as to the timing, which has got nothing to do with this state visit, and I've discussed it with the President, as you would expect amongst two leaders who respect each other and like each other and want to bring about a better solution in the best way that we can. Thank you so much. Can I go back then to Robert at ITV?
Robert Peston, ITV. Mr. President, you uniquely, you alone in the whole world, have the power to persuade Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop the demolition of Gaza City, to stop the starvation of Palestine, and to stop the killing of civilians. If not now, when will you exercise that power to tell him to stop?
Sure.
And then for both of you on...
But you do understand about October 7th.
Of course,
you do understand.
So believe me, I understand.
One of the worst days in the history of humanity. What happened, I have seen the tapes. Babies that are 4 months old and just chopped up to pieces. And you've seen the tapes and I've seen the tapes. You're a professional and so am I. And people forget about October 7th. I can't forget about it. So I want it to end, but I want the hostages back. I don't want the hostages used as human shields, which is what Hamas is threatening to do.
But as soon as they're back, that's the moment you will tell Netanyahu to stop.
It would certainly help, but I have to have the hostages back. And I don't want them back piecemeal, as I said before. I want them back.
And on a separate issue, free speech, your Vice President Vance said that free speech is under attack in the UK. Do you agree with him? And Prime Minister, we saw the dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you know, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, on the question of Charlie Kirk, can I just express how shocking that is, I think, to everybody who believes in free speech and in democracy. It sent shockwaves through the world. And I know that he was a friend of the president, and I reached out straight away to the president because I understood how impactful it'd be on him and his family. And we all need to be absolutely clear about that. Whatever our political views, it is shocking and is to be condemned. On free speech, not much to add to the answer I gave earlier. This country's had free speech for a very, very long time. It is part of who we are as a country, and it is the values that we fought for. We fought for it during the Second World War alongside each other. So we need no reminding of the importance of free speech in this country. Thank you, Robert. And I go to Beth for the final question, please. Beth.
Thank you so much.
Sky.
Thank you. It's Beth Rigby, Sky News. Thank you, Prime Minister. If I could start with you. Prime Minister, President Trump has said he's ready to impose major sanctions on Russia if NATO countries stop purchasing Russian oil. He's got a point, hasn't he? Is that what you now believe is needed to bring Putin properly to the table? And what's your message to the President on US sanctions? And Mr. President, if I may, the King praised your personal commitment last night to finding solutions to the world's most intractable conflicts. You have invested much of your time and effort in Ukraine, but even as you seek to broker a deal, President Putin is escalating the war. He's firing drones into NATO airspace. You say he has let you down. Was it a mistake to invite him to Alaska? Do you regret it?
No.
And is it time to squeeze him, sir, and scare him and impose sanctions? And finally, if I may, the elephant in the room, Lord Mandelson, he is no longer the ambassador. Do you have some sympathy with him that he lost his job over historic links to Jeffrey Epstein? Thank you very much, sir.
I don't know him, actually. I had heard that, and I think maybe the Prime Minister would be better speaking of that. That was a choice that he made, and I don't know. What is your answer to that?
Well, I mean, it's very straightforward. Some information came to light last week which wasn't available when he was appointed, and I made a decision about it, and that's very clear. On the question of the pressure on Putin and on Russia, which is obviously really important, look, I think it is a challenge to Europe. There are a number of European countries which are too reliant on energy from Russia. The UK actually obviously has almost got nothing at all, but we do need to bear down and work with our European counterparts here. There are one or two countries, I think, that do need to look again at the question of energy. There's no one silver bullet here. We do have to have a wider suite of sanctions, which we've put in place a number of times, working across Europe and with the United States. And of course, we must, and we are, making sure that Ukraine is in the strongest position now, because one of my long concerns here has been that whilst we talk about a ceasefire, and we all want a ceasefire, and we talk about what might happen after a ceasefire, we mustn't forget that Ukraine needs our support now, and we've said we stand with Ukraine from the start to the finish, and that means we must continue to supply them with what they need in order to fight this war, which of course resulted from and is a result of Russian aggression. We have particularly done the sort of leadership role in the coalition of the willing, so that if there is a ceasefire and if there is a deal, and I do hope there is, that is then lasting and not then broken, because given previous history, I don't trust Putin. Thank you.
Very simply, if the price of oil comes down, Putin's going to drop out. He's going to have no choice. He's going to drop out of that war. And when I found out that the European nations were buying oil from Russia, and as you know, I'm very close to India. I'm very close to the Prime Minister of India. I spoke to him the other day, wished him a happy birthday. We have a very good relationship. He put out a beautiful statement, too. We have, but I said, I sanctioned them. China is paying a very large tariff right now to the United States, but I'm willing to do other things, but not when the people that I'm fighting for are buying oil from Russia. If the oil price comes down, very simply, Russia will settle. And the oil price is way down. We got it way down. We're drilling and we produce more oil than anybody else in the world. We're doing a lot. But I was disappointed to see that. And the Prime Minister was disappointed to see that. And it wasn't him. It was other countries. And you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't. That's not playing fair with the United States. And we can't have that. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think Donald Trump exemplifies strong Christianity. So I'd like to know what you think about that.
So great question. So are you a Christian? I just want to know by what standard you're judging him.
I personally am not a Christian.
Okay, so that's interesting to me. Why do you then care about what Christians think of Trump if you yourself are not a Christian?
We got 300 people in the building. Appreciate y'all for coming to rock with me. Well, we're going back to this Charlie Kirk tribute. And so we're going to keep it rolling. Y'all hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Hope everybody having a great morning. Here we go. Let's roll it out to finish this one out.
Well, I believe Christianity still does play a great role in this
good.
country.
Fair enough. No, I just want to know by what standard you're judging him. That's fine. So when we're selecting a leader, all of us are sinners. All of us have problems. His character flaws are definitely public for those that can see it. I will say, though, that he has a lot of virtues. Would you say he has any virtues?
What basis are you saying? What virtues do you think he
courage.
possesses? Okay, courage. I think.
Like if you and I got shot, how would we react?
Well, I don't know. I think that we're straying a little bit from the question.
No, it's important though. So, what moral failures in particular do you think are disqualifying from a Christian standpoint for him to serve in office or gain support from Christians?
Well, I actually do have some things pulled up, and I did read some scripture in preparation as well. Would you mind if I provided some of that?
Sure. Give me one or two examples.
Yeah.
And as long as you're applying the standard consistently to, for example, King David, Samson, Daniel, Joseph, and many figures in the Bible who are considered to be virtuous and righteous, because we're all sinners, and you know that.
Sure.
But
yeah, absolutely.
Please give me some examples.
Yeah, well, I'd like to quote a couple pieces of scripture. First from, it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, and to value others above yourself." But Trump has continuously put himself over American citizens.
Yeah, let me ask you a question on that. He's gotten poorer since he ran for office. He's lost his business empire. He's been impeached twice, indicted 4 times, facing 700 years in federal prison. How is that putting his own personal ambition first? He's facing life imprisonment, his business empire to be taken away from him. That's actually putting the country above himself, isn't it?
Well, yes, but what about him selling golden sneakers, selling branded Bibles, which he claims to be the only one he endorses, $100,000 watches?
So yeah, I mean, but selling products to try to pay for legal fees is probably understandable, right?
But
How much do you think he's spending in legal fees a month?
Isn't that telling that he's a 34-time convicted felon, though?
That's interesting. So do you think the standard of justice is equally applied of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton?
Well, no, but look what you guys said about
Hillary
Hillary
Clinton. That's very important, though, because do you think that Donald Trump would be experiencing this kind of criminality against him if his name wasn't Trump?
Yes.
Really?
I do.
So then why is it that no one's ever been indicted for what he got convicted for ever before in New York history?
Isn't that a great question?
Yes.
Why hasn't he been indicted?
No. Why has no one else ever been indicted for what he was indicted for? They made up a crime, the first ever, for Donald Trump.
I don't.
So let me ask you, from a Christian perspective. We all fall short of the glory of God.
Correct.
Okay, amen. And throughout the Bible, people who are sinners, such as I mentioned King David, who did a lot worse things than Donald Trump. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of King David. He literally not only committed adultery, he got the person he committed adultery with, Bathsheba's husband, sent him to the front of the line, got him murdered and killed so that he continued to commit adultery. Yet he was a man after God's own heart. We have Samson, who literally, when God came upon Samson, he was in a bed with prostitutes and was in the Hall of Faith in the book of Hebrews. We are not electing Donald Trump as a pastor of this country. We're electing him as a president. And we also see what he does. And this is a very important moral question. Let's say I grant you that Donald Trump embodies some of the sins that you and I both don't like. Is it matter more of what he's done in his personal life? Or does it matter more, for example, when you invade a sovereign country like Iraq and commit war crimes against millions of people?
Well, Donald Trump has contrasted multiple Christian values, but I don't.
Well, hold on, this is important though. Have we ever heard the mainstream media or yourself come up and say, how could a Christian vote for George W. Bush? Have you ever heard that argument?
No, but...
Well, hold on. George W. Bush invaded a sovereign country under lies and pretenses, and thousands of American soldiers died, and hundreds of thousands have PTSD, and millions of people had their lives displaced. We never say that George W. Bush was a bad Christian, yet Donald Trump was the one that didn't declare any new wars. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald Trump was the one that fought for the unborn and got abortion, Roe versus Wade repealed, and we have abortion laws across the country that are pro-life. The point is that it's easy to nitpick at Donald Trump's personal life, but what he actually did to impact the country was far greater than other presidents that called themselves Christians in years past.
Okay. It still doesn't quite make sense why a Christian would vote for him, but I appreciate your input. I guess I put that very vaguely. I don't understand how Christians are okay with so much that he does, because he also refuses to accept responsibility and take accountability.
Well, but because we read the Bible, and the Bible is full of people that have very, very difficult, let's just say, colorful lives, and still are used for God's purpose. And and by the way, it's very easy to say, are you a sinner? You're not a Christian, but let's just say,
yes, I've sinned.
Yeah, we're all sinners. And so we look at Donald Trump and we say, wow, this is a guy who's obviously broken. We're all broken. And what do you do with your broken life? Do you just golf all the time and fly around the world and hope things get better? Or do you get in the arena and fight for the country to the extent of where you get shot, you're under assassination attempts every day, and your business empire gets taken from you? That's incredible virtue that I'm going to teach my kids about and say, even if your back is against the wall, you keep on fighting. I think that's incredibly virtuous.
Okay. And I understand I'm not going to change your mind on this. So this is mostly...
You asked for an explanation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So I respect that. Now, you mentioned children that you have, and raising them by morals. I mean, this is somebody who's running for the president of the United States. And as a matter of fact, traditional Christian theologian and philosopher Albert Schweitzer said that example is not the main thing in influencing others, it is the only thing. Now, the words of the president matter, and I understand you're raising 2 children. So he has been on track calling prisoners of wars losers. He lied to dodge
He has never said that. Is not correct. That is a total lie, but that's fine. So,
lied to dodge the military.
That is also not correct, but fine.
Called citizens vermin.
Well, he called foreigners in the country that have broken into the country vermin.
Okay.
You know who he called vermin? He called the Venezuelan gang members that rape women vermin. Can we all agree that they're vermin, everybody? Yeah. But that's fine. Just keep going. Yeah, I mean.
And his continuous bullying and name calling, I don't think that's a virtue you'd like to...
No, this is important. I want to say that, okay, let's pretend all that's right. Let's pretend that you weren't being fed misinformation. No, but I want to be clear. What is more virtuous? The guy that says stuff he shouldn't say, or the person that sends $200 billion on unnecessary war in Ukraine so 1 million people die? You have to choose. Which one would you rather have? Someone that talks sloppily or someone that funds wars around the world?
Okay, I was in the middle of my question.
No, it's important, though.
Your own, though.
No, it's important because I wanted to hear from you, though, because you obviously are not a supporter of Trump, and Trump is constantly under this attack that he's immoral and he's terrible, yet we never judge the actions of our leaders who continue to have wars around the world where people die. Is that immoral to do?
It is immoral, but
I agree. So then why are we so fixated on the language of Trump and not on the actions of our current leaders?
Well, first of all, our current leader, Biden, is not running for presidency this year.
Well, no, but the vice president is actually, and she's also in charge.
But not in charge the same way Joe Biden is currently.
Well, Joe Biden's certainly not in charge, so who's running the government?
Who is running? What's your answer to that?
I don't know. Like, we don't know who's running the government, actually, and it's horrifying. I mean, Kamala Harris went to the Munich Security Conference and provoked Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. She was in charge of the border. She was the border czar. The point is this, is that you can look through Donald Trump's language. People say he lies. He actually exaggerates, and those are 2 different things. But Donald Trump doesn't get in trouble for his exaggerations. He gets in trouble for telling the truth. And I'll give you an example. He gets in trouble for all of a sudden saying, oh, wow, the border's wide open. You're not allowed to say that. You seem super happy. Have a great day. Thank you.
I love you, Charlie!
Thank you, guys. No, but I want to try to find some common ground here and try to see where you could... Well, I'm not going to make an excuse for everything a human being has done that it's not myself.
Sure.
But I will say that his track record of action has been very good for the country, and that is irrefutable.
Well, okay. May I finish?
In summary, yes, and then we'll get to another question.
Okay. So what I was going to say is, right now with Hurricane Helene and Milton, he is profusely lying and criticizing the Biden and Harris administration. But local officials...
How?
By saying he's siphoning money out for illegal immigrants.
No, that's totally true.
That's not true. FEMA said it's not true.
You guys could hold on a second. FEMA literally says in their press release that they had a fund dedicated towards the southern border being a natural disaster, and they spent billions of dollars accommodating foreigners in this country with luxury hotels and interior flights. You can look at it yourself. FEMA gets money appropriated, and they decided to spend that money on the southern border and not on hurricane relief or tornado relief.
Okay.
That's a fact. And by the way, I'm not alone in that. A lot of senators agree. You could look it up yourself. I don't know, but see that's not a lie though. But you're accusing him of being a liar when he's telling the truth. You just made my point.
No, but you keep interrupting me. You're not letting me finish anything.
Because you're not. First of all, this is not your hour. This is my hour. You're asking me questions, right?
Yes.
Secondly,
well, but does that mean you get to respect me differently?
Well, I know I'm totally respecting you, but if you're saying something that's not true, I'm not going to waste our time on that. Make one final point, please, about Donald Trump's character.
Local government officials have commended the job that Biden and Harris have done in giving them the aid they need. But Trump, in his rallies, he is making up stories, and he is taking advantage of people when they are most vulnerable for political.
This is not true.
For political points.
Okay. Why don't you go yourself to West North Carolina and tell me if it's going well? Okay. Tell me if it's going well, because it's not actually. You could talk to local official after local official. I don't know where you're getting your information from, but please make one final point, and then we'll get to the next person.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. You're not a Trump guy, right?
Correct, but I also know I'm not changing your mind. And
no, but I want to try to find morally where you're coming from. Would you rather have a president who sleeps around, exaggerates, and sells merchandise for himself, but we have no World War III and a good economy?
I think that's an exaggeration.
Hold on. Hold on. One second. Or would you rather have a president that speaks crisply, and we have World War III and a wide open border and a terrible economy? You have to choose. Which would you have?
Well, I know I don't have time to answer this, but I'd actually...
It's an A or B choice.
Well, no, but I'd love to talk to you about it, because I don't think the economy would be terrible under Harris and Walz. I don't.
How's the economy right now?
Okay, so that's something I would love to talk to you if I had more time.
No, really quick. Is the economy good or bad right now?
Okay, so right now, from 2020 with global supply chain shortages...
Okay,
exactly.
This is the problem with college, is that they try to overly complicate the simple. Is the economy good or bad right now?
So, exactly. So, inflation right now?
It's horrible, actually.
Inflation right now is 2.4%, which is right on par with the other G7
Guys, can you afford regular things that you want to afford? See, this is what I'm talking about, is that you got to get out of the clouds and listen to real people.
No, but that's...
80% of Americans say the economy is horrible. Why do they say that?
I mean, this is a nuanced answer. It would take nuance, and I want to ask you, what would Trump do to fix this economy? Because his tariff
exactly what he did for 4 years. Because the economy was great when Trump was president.
Yes,
drill, baby, drill, deregulate, cut taxes, empower entrepreneurs, and allow people to invest in America again.
So
when Trump was president, the economy was objectively better. People remember it as better because it was better. The question is this: why do people think the economy is so bad right now?
So, because in 2020. Global supply chain shortages, and after COVID, demand shot up, which put upwards pressure on prices. It caused inflation. That's an excuse to price gouge. Right now, inflation is down, but there has not been a price correction. Now, Trump's tariff...
You seem like a nice, sweet person. You are so deceived. I got to get to the next question, which is that you did not answer the question. Most Americans think...
I think he was getting to a good point, the kid, but he kept cutting him off. That kid had his notes. He got a big old book full of notes. Yeah, I think that kid was making some points, but Charlie kept cutting him off. So I'm gonna take a break, guys, and come back, and we're going to keep this tribute to Charlie going. So y'all subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so you will be alerted whenever we come back. I'm going to come back. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back, and we're going to keep on watching these debates. We're going to keep on watching them, and we're going to, this is a tribute to Charlie Kirk. I think he was doing some good work, going out there talking to the kids, really trying to get votes, really. He was really there, to switch them to vote for Trump, so he was putting the work in. So I will be back. I'm going to take a break and come back. With that being said, y'all subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and come right back. Whenever you get that notification that I'm live, come right back. So with that being said, I'll be back, guys.